for a year. How is that helping anyone?
Yeah, that's another thing that you actually got wrong, by the way, that even fucking Willie Sloptube called you out on. Those people, by the time you had released your context puke, those people had been released. What would you do, Ethan?
I remember.
What would you do?
I said they were prisoners for a year. I know they were released. It literally happened like the day I was finishing the video.
You couldn't.
They were held. Were they held prisoner for a year? Were they held prisoner for a year? Were they held prisoner for a year?
Yeah.
Were they held prisoner for a year?
Yeah, they were. They were held hostage.
That's what I said. Thank you.
Yeah, they were held hostage for sure.
So how's that help Israel taking a bunch of Filipino fucking unaffiliated sailors hostage for a year? Well, how's it deter Israel? Kidnapping fucking.
Do you understand the concept of deterrence?
Sailors.
Yes.
How is that a deterrence?
It is a show of force to stop successfully, mind you, to stop other commercial shipping from going through. They literally bankrupted an entire Israeli port. I'd say that's numbers on the fucking board, baby. And like I said, 10 toes down, support that initiative. Because if you believe it's a genocide, what the fuck are they supposed to do? Should they allow their coastline to continue having commerce as though nothing is going on up there in Palestine, where Israel is doing a genocide in Palestine? How do you think the Yemeni population should have responded to the Israeli genocide? Should they have sat back and just let it happen?
Yemeni is not Houthi, by the way.
And also, they can't say, obviously, they fucking can't say from the river to the sea, Palestine, because that scares you, Ethan. So obviously they can't do that either. So what
scares? I mean, it doesn't. It's what Norman Finkelstein said.
Pro-Palestine in a way that you think is appropriate.
Where your example is hijacking an unaffiliated ship and kidnapping 15 sailors?
It's not unaffiliated, but even if it was unaffiliated, as I've said already, if it was unaffiliated, that wasn't unaffiliated. You lied about that, and you recognize that you lied about that for the record. But if it was,
people can look into it.
Even if it was,
why did they kidnap? They didn't need to kidnap random people. That's like terrorist shit. Why are they kidnapping random unaffiliated sailors? How are you defending that?
You know what's terrorist?
You're defending them kidnapping these
Ethan?
Unrelated foreign sailors?
Shit? Israel fucking blowing up a humanitarian aid flotilla.
When did I defend that?
1,002. No, I'm not saying you're defending that. I'm just explaining to you what actual terrorism looks like.
Well, you are defending terrorism,
as of this conversation taking place,
and you've done it many times during this conversation.
Literally drone striked a fucking humanitarian aid ship that was headed for Gaza off the coastline of Malta. That's real fucking terrorism. What the Houthis are doing, on the other hand, is resistance. And it's not only moral, but it's just. And
very good. You're right. You're so righteous.
Is served,
do you think that the Filipino hostages who are held there for a year agree that that was an awesome, that was an awesome act of resistance?
Probably not. Can you explain to me what you would do? What would you do?
I think, well, first of all, I think that like there's something to be said for stopping the cargo in that strait, but they're doing it insanely fucking stupid. They're stopping unaffiliated ships and they're kidnapping unaffiliated people. How is that good?
Damn, dude.
They're doing
it's not
it bad.
Unaffiliated ship, by the way. But even then,
you won't explain how it's affiliated. You said it's owned by an Israeli conglomerate. That is an outright lie. Hold on, you're doing disinformation right now. It was not owned by an Israeli conglomerate. You said that. Yes, it was a lie. Galaxy Leader is a vehicle carrier that was owned by a British company, operated by a company connected. It was connected. It wasn't even, he didn't even own it. It was connected to an Israeli businessman. Mm-hmm. It was co-owned by a business that this Israeli guy was involved in.
Co-owned by Abraham Ungar.
So what? You know his name.
What do you mean? It's co-owned by an Israeli. What are we talking about?
No, it's co-owned by a company that has an Israeli dude affiliated with it.
Well, you asked me how it's connected. I'm telling you
it's owned by a British company.
You asked me how it's connected. I'm telling you how it's connected.
Well, you're lying.
You don't like that connection.
No, you're lying. That's what I don't like.
I'm not lying. The ship info is readily available, Ethan.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter anyway. The problem for me, really,
it doesn't matter. Okay, that's point number 5 that you also presented falsely on your context puke.
The problem is more the kidnapped sailors. I just don't understand you can justify kidnapping a bunch of unaffiliated sailors.
I don't, Ethan.
You are.
Ethan,
you go. Have you ever heard of deterrent?
Yeah. Walk with me through this carefully.
Yeah, please explain to me how it's justifiable to kidnap 15 sailors.
Ethan, what would you do? You have a better way to do it, I think. We're going to figure it out.
Well, like I said, you can do it without kidnapping unaffiliated.
During the Holocaust,
holding them for a year.
There were militancy, resistance, okay, that cut off supply lines, okay, supply lines for the Nazis, or even sometimes supply lines that actually impacted the civilians, okay, impact the civilians. Do you feel like that kind of resistance was unwarranted?
It's completely irrelevant. Why did they hold them for a year?
I don't know.
Okay, because they're terrorists.
What? Because they're terrorists.
Oh, what? Yeah, they're terrorists. They kidnap innocent civilians.
Are they? So the people
Filipino guys?
the people that are resisting against the Israeli genocide that you call
What
a
do those
genocide
sailors have to do with
are
that?
actually terrorists because you don't agree with their
Kidnapping innocents?
fucking methods. But you have no way. You have
Kidnapping
no alternative.
innocents.
You have no alternative. You call
That's
it a
not
genocide.
true. I
they're
said just
supposed
don't
to sit
kidnap
around.
innocent
Nothing
people.
else.
It's easy. Just don't kidnap innocent people. They could have done that, right? They could have taken the boat.
Ethan.
They could have commandeered the boat and not kidnapped
Ethan,
people, right?
Damn.
Oh,
Okay,
is that possible?
Fair. Do you think that that warrants the standard of saying that the one of the only groups that is doing militancy against and resisting against Israel's genocide, which they stopped, by the way, they literally stopped when Israel actually followed through on a ceasefire. If they were just, erroneously and randomly fucking trying to claim ships because they're pirates, they want to live the pirate life, then obviously they wouldn't have stopped doing that, don't you think? And they only started their blockade after Israel started starving Gaza again, and then also
That's
turned
great.
around.
What does that have to do with innocent sailors?
Ethan, I don't think you want to go down this route.
I'm ready. What do you
Kidnapping
mean?
People is terrorism. Is Israel terrorist? Is the IDF terrorist?
I mean, you could
Is
characterize
the
it that
IDF
way.
terrorist?
I mean, it's an army, so it's a different thing. It's
Why is it a different thing? You think the Ansar Allah movement doesn't have a standing army? They have an army.
The Houthis are to like a hostile takeover of like a portion of Yemen. They're at odds with the government. It's different.
Wait,
they also own slaves, by the way.
We're going to talk about the Ansar Allah movement's history.
But I'll say yeah, Israel, the
hold
IDF
on.
is terrorist. Yes,
Hold
the
on.
IDF is terrorism.
Hold on. Talk to me about how the Ansar Allah movement actually came to power without getting any notes from your Discord or anything like that. Explain to me the process in which Ansar Allah actually came to power. What?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't
do not know.
It's really
you should try
interesting
saying
because
that
in
sometimes.
your video, you also used a lot of Saudi outlets to be like, these guys are actually doing slavery.
Bro.
And it turned out that actually
Give me the
videos
Saudi
that
outlets.
you used did not even suggest that it was Ansar Allah that was doing slavery in the fucking poorest country on the planet. Okay?
The
Literally
Houthis
the poorest
have
country
slaves.
on the planet.
That's not
they
even
weren't the ones who were doing the
contested.
slavery according to your own fucking video, but you still used it. And you used
Houthis have
Saudi
slaves,
propaganda
undisputed.
papers that at a time when Saudi
I
Arabia
just don't
was
understand why
doing
you're
a
defending
fucking
the
genocide.
Houthis for having slaves and kidnapping innocents. It's just so unnecessary.
What are you talking about,
Just
dude?
acknowledge that they do terrible
Saudi-backed
shit.
government was the one that was actually doing slavery.
No, well, if they did, then the Houthis also have slaves. That's just a statement
No,
of
the
fact.
Houthis don't have shit. Okay, it's
They don't have shit. They don't have slaves. They don't even have slaves. They don't even have food. Like, what are you talking about?
That's not the point I'm making. They are the poorest country on the planet that just came out of a man-made
and how's
famine.
that
backed
blockade, by the way,
Saudi
helping the
Arabia
country?
and the
How
UAE.
is the blockade
Why
helping
did
the
you
famine in
use-
Yemen? How's the blockade helping the famine in Yemen?
There is, as far as I understand, there's no longer a famine in Yemen. I'm talking about before, because you talked about how you were a regional expert.
What is blockading it doing for the poorest country on earth?
And their violent takeover of Yemen. So I was like trying to figure out what you know about this. Maybe you know something that I don't know. So I was trying to pick your brain a little bit
Well,
on this
so
issue.
explain to
but
me why it
seems like you don't know
matters.
shit.
Sure, I don't know about this specific thing. Tell me why it matters.
Why it matters? What their blockade?
Yeah,
Oh,
clearly.
their blockade is awesome.
No, why it matters how they came to power.
Oh, because you used Saudi newspapers in the time when Saudi Arabia, according to Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, all fucking NGOs, was doing a Western-backed blockade that was killing hundreds of thousands of people, and the headlines that you used in your context puke were from Al Arabiya and numerous other outlets that had their own personal investment in vilifying the Ansar Allah movement. Having said that, of course, I also think that there are plenty to criticize about the Ansar Allah movement. I don't agree with everything that they're fucking doing, as I've said time and time again, like their banner, right? Their banner says curse the Jews, which you also presented in your video. Except, remember when you talked about Norm Finkelstein and how Norm Finkelstein doesn't agree with "From the River to the Sea, Palestine will be free"?
You agree with kidnapping civilians?
Can we play the clip of Norm Finkelstein talking about the curse the Jews and how what he thinks about that? Let's do that. Let's pull up the clip of Norm Finkelstein's thoughts on
how's that
actions
relevant?
And the blockade against the Israelis. You
How
used him as
relevant?
A primary source earlier because you thought, he's a reputable guy, which I think I agree.
He said something that I've said that I've been criticized for. What does that have
Dan,
to do with every other take he's taken? It doesn't mean that I support that. Like we're aligned with every other take in the world.
Dan, can you play this clip real quick? Sorry, this is 50 seconds.
It's irrelevant.
I passed it along.
It's totally irrelevant.
What do you mean it's irrelevant?
Because who gives a fuck what he said about it?
Wait, what do you mean? You want to
talk about
his perspective on From the River to the Sea to imply that he agrees with you. I want to see if you agree with him on this. Just play it.
Do you? All right, I'll play it.
Thank you.
So here, I'm going to play it, okay? And then when this is done, let's move on to something I know we both want to talk about. You claimed, I'm going to play it. I just want to set this up. You claimed that the worst thing I said in the context, puke, is that I wrongfully portrayed Jewish people fleeing from their countries, and I denied the Nakba somehow, which is crazy. So let's talk about that after this clip.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
And
by the way,
you're not going to scare us. You're not going to.
I'll just say up front, we can end on that point.
Oh, I can keep going all day if you want.
I'm sure you can. Yeah, I know. I know you go to bed tonight in a cool race car bed, but I have family.
Okay, no, that's fine. Why are you thinking about what my bedroom looks like? It's kind of weird, man.
Yeah. No, you're right. You fucking badass fucking sports car bed. It's
very odd.
Here it is.
As long as the people in Gaza are subjected to a genocide, we won't stop. Do you know all the praise that's given to the Danish government because it helped evacuate Jews during World War II? But is there a case where a totally distant people did that for the people of Gaza? If I were to give a Nobel Peace Prize, I would divide it between three. South African delegation. Number two, those doctors who volunteered to go to Gaza, the Doctors Without Borders and others. One doctor, he was Palestinian. Why don't you leave? Because he had the option. He was able to go. He said, I didn't go to medical school for 30 years to abandon my people. He was killed. And the third, it's the Houthis. If genocide is the crime of crimes, the Houthis are the hero of heroes.
Yeah, I mean, the first two examples, I definitely agree. I think it's psychotic to give the Houthis a peace prize. Why? Yeah, that's nuts.
Why?
Because what the fuck have they done for peace other than kidnap innocent civilians? What have they done for their own populace? This is, as you said, the poorest country on earth. What are they doing for peace?
The Houthis have created.
What does this have to do with the river to the sea?
Material consequences for Israel as it has implemented a genocide.
All right, let's give them a peace prize. Whatever, I don't care. Let's give them a peace prize.
It.
Yes, absolutely, without a doubt.
Wait, also, it's still
don't ask the unaffiliated prisoners who were held for a year, though.
No, I don't. I think you're missing the broader point here. You're missing the forest for the trees. Here, I'll give you a great example of this, by the way, because you spent a lot of time being like, the Houthis are bad. They're homophobic. I'm like, I'm sure they are. Holy shit. Also, Dan, it keeps switching back to me on my end. Sorry.
Let's talk about the issue of the Nakba and stuff.
Hold on. I know you keep saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. This is boring." Whenever you come across a point that you have to admit is wrong,
and you just talk and talk. It makes the video unwatchable.
You said the Houthis are barbaric. They're homophobic. They hate women.
Homophobic.
All this shit, right? And I'm sure a lot of that is correct. Of course it is. It is the fucking poorest nation on the planet, and all it is known is fucking death and destruction. This doesn't justify having that sort of opinion, of course, but it certainly understands, don't you think? Certainly is part of the point, part of the problem. And the best possible way to probably get them to have a civil rights movement to give gays rights would probably be to stop fucking bombing them, as Joe Biden did, and as Donald Trump has done.
Yeah, that wasn't my chief criticism. And again, my criticism is that they are kidnapping civilians.
Yeah, I know. You don't like their methods, but you have no alternative method. Now,
I said just do it without kidnapping civilians, dude. It's not rocket science.
You said the IDF is maybe not a terror organization, but the IDF is a terror organization.
I didn't say that. Wrong. Again, a liar.
So you think the IDF is a terror organization?
I said yes.
You believe the IDF is a terror?
I think it would be. I think it's fair to characterize them that way.
Okay. Your wife was in the IDF.
Yeah.
Do you believe your wife is a terrorist?
Of course not.
You have considered a 19-year-old Yemeni TikToker who is not even a part of the Al-Houthi family with no Houthi affiliation, but simply a person that says he stands with the Houthis, and I do too, a terrorist over and over again because he has a gun in the second highest gun ownership density per capita. And because he responded to a fucking Instagram comment saying he's a soldier, a dude who doesn't even speak English, you kept claiming that he was a terrorist over and over again. His name is Rashid al-Haddad. He is not even a fucking Zaidi Shia. He's not even a part of the Houthi family. Because if he was a part of the Houthi family, his last name would be al-Houthi, not al-Haddad. Okay? This person you have, this person, you looked at a 19-year-old fucking teenager who's a TikToker in the poorest country on the planet, who's only known death and destruction, and spent countless fucking hours looking through whatever his social media was to be like, this guy is bad. This guy's fucked up.
Let's look at it.
Of course he's fucked up. He lives in goddamn Yemen. Are you
stupid? Do you know what the bigotry of low expectations is?
You dumbass.
Do you know what the bigotry of low expectations is? You're saying because he's poor, he hates Jewish people? Let's watch.
No, it's not because he's poor that he hates Jewish people. It's because he lives in fucking Yemen. And in that part of the world, the only thing that people see is the dangerous conflation of Zionism and Judaism. Because the fighter jets that blow up their fucking schools have a Star of David next to them. And when the Palestinians are kidnapped, when they're fucking forced to go through military trial detention, they get fucking Stars of David carved on their heads. Israel is the one that dangerously and falsely claims to be the nation state of Jews. Israel is the one that makes everybody think that this action, all of the action, the genocide that you called a genocide, is actually being done at the behest of Jews. So of course, for everyone in that side of the fucking world,
they're doing
when
it on behest of Jews,
it's interchangeable with Israel. Many of these people, including Refat
Do you think he's like Anne Frank?
What?
Do you think he's like Anne Frank?
Oh, of course, absolutely. He has withstood genocide. He has withstood genocide by the Saudi government.
Is that the only?
Of course I do. I think that talking to, but my point that I was fucking presenting, Anne
Frank is famous for being a pacifist and seeing the good in people despite a fucking Holocaust that took every member of her family but her dad. That's why she's inspiring. This guy went on Twitter and said, fuck Jewish people. Would you think Anne Frank
would be less inspiring if she somehow was able to get out of the...
If she was like, I want to kill Germans and hang them, yeah.
arms against the Nazis? Would you say that Anne Frank is bad for that? Say Anne Frank is bad for that, Ethan.
Or something that didn't happen.
Would be bad if she took up arms against the violent Nazi occupation. Say it.
It wouldn't be the same, for sure.
Oh, it wouldn't be the same. Why wouldn't it be?
She's famous for being a pacifist and seeing the good in people despite living through a Holocaust. You understand that? That's not what. Let me show you. Let me show you.
Do you think that if Anne Frank
Israel isn't?
Do you think that if Anne Frank took up arms against the Nazi occupation, you would call
Israel
her
isn't
a bad
occupying
person?
Yemen anyway?
What?
Israel's not occupying Yemen.
Israel isn't. But for every single country in this region, American imperialism is all they have
You say the
known.
Saudis, you said this, why don't they say death to Saudi Arabia on their flag? Why is it Jews? Why
because
is it
they're directly
damn the Jews?
fighting Saudi Arabia. What are you talking
but I thought,
about?
you see the Star of David, of course they hate Jews. What about why does their flag say death to fucking Israel and damn the Jews?
Their flag says death to America, death to Israel, a curse upon the Jews, which
Damn
I
the
have
Jews,
said time and time again is kind of gauche, not acceptable, not appropriate by Western standards. But if you listen to Norm has a clip on that too. Norm has a clip on that too. Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it?
Let me show you this.
Do you want to
you've
hear
been going
Norm
on and on.
Explain that?
No, I want to show you this. Okay, you've been talking and talking and talking and talking. Very good. Let's watch this.
Do you condemn the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising,
Hasan,
Ethan?
You gotta stop.
Do you condemn the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising?
I'm gonna play this video. Okay. He says, ready for sacrifice. Maybe I read it.
Sacrifice and eager for martyrdom. Maybe he's talking about football. Here he is singing a song with the words, do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew? Meaning of Houthi is a title, and it's not something to fear, but for the Jews. They are very afraid of this title. The execution we will carry out on all Zionists, with the lovely depiction of a man impaled through his asshole and out of his mouth with a pike, or how Hasan likes to say it, a pike for a cut.
Pause it.
Okay, why would he
Are you done?
retweet this article called Houthis use social media to boost global prominence and support?
Okay.
Israel falls. Wait for the new operation in Tel Aviv. The Jaffa drone, which no Israeli defense can stop. The ships we bombed and sank. I know the red arrow is supposed to be a cool military Hamas thing. This is a butt plug. Just saying. To every Zionist, I will put this into your stomach. And let me state the obvious. Jew and Zionist is clearly interchangeable to this guy. Okay,
It is.
but hating Jews doesn't make you a Houthi. Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive.
Why did he say yes to, are you a soldier?
Bro, he doesn't even fucking speak English. You're like, oh, he's a soldier.
Oh.
Wait, even if he is, I'm going to ask you a question very clearly and very deliberately. If Anne Frank
Just
posted,
like Anne Frank, by the way.
if we had the internet during the time of the Holocaust and Anne Frank posted about this is what we're going to do to the Nazis, would your analysis
it
of
would
Anne Frank
change.
change
Yes,
even
of
a little bit,
course.
even an iota?
Yes, of course it would, because she's famous for being a pacifist, not tweeting out death to all Zionists. She's famous for seeing the good in people, not fucking tweeting out that we want to nuke Israel. What do you mean?
I would not give a fuck. I would be loud and proud going, hey, that's what she said. That's what we're going to do to the Nazis. Fuck yeah, girl.
So
Get it.
after watching that compilation, you still agree that he's just like Anne Frank?
Did you not hear what I asked you?
I'm just summarizing.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Anne Frank died before she could resist. But if she did, I would never hold that against her.
She was fucking killed in a concentration camp, you psychopath.
But if she did,
she was exterminated with her whole fucking family. Her dad's the only one that survived and recovered her journal. Are you fucking mad?
Ethan, right? Would you hold that against her? Would you hold that against Anne Frank?
I wouldn't hold it against her, but she wouldn't be the same historical figure that said, despite my family being killed in concentration camp and everyone being murdered, I'm still a pacifist that sees the good in people. What the fuck what's so confusing about that? Not kill Zionists, not nuke Israel, not a pike through Zionist assholes.
I can't believe we're once again discussing the posts of a dude in Yemen who is
you really like to do
years
that.
old. Okay.
Well, you said he's not a Houthi. I mean, you went on and on and on and on about how he's just some random fucking innocent kid that you platformed and glazed the fuck up, by the way. Which is, by the way, just terrible journalism. Like you have KFC in Yemen? Is that the fucking best question you have for someone who's apparently surviving a genocide in Yemen, who's been with the crew of kidnapped hostages, who has apparently partied with the captains? You say, is there KFC in Yemen? Are you fucking kidding me?
All right. Here's some clips that you haven't
Hold on.
shown.
Besides being wrong, it's insanely incompetent.
We're going clip for clip. We're going clip for clip. Can you please play this? It's from my subreddit.
Sure.
Here.
Give me a sec. Dan's got to pass it to me. Okay. After this, please, we got to move on to the Nakba thing.
Yeah. Every single victim of Israeli or American violence has to be a pacifist. That is your
do you want me to watch
perspective.
this? I mean, what the fuck, bro? It's 4 minutes, so I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I'll watch like a minute or 2 minutes. Okay?
طبعا جاتني اسئله كثيره ماذا اذا اليهود قرروا ان يعودوا الى اليمن يعني بنسمح لهم ولا لا ولا طبعا طبيعي يعني احنا اليمنيين نمد ايدينا للسلام يعني اليمن مسموحه لاي شخص يعيش فيها.
This is like shot by a fucking propagandist. What are you talking about? Like, he's all fucking dolled up. He's got makeup on. The lighting is perfect. Yeah, he's like, guys, please, we love the Jews. Give me a break. Our problem is not with the Jews, guys.
Buddy, dunking on a fucking 19-year-old living in Yemen. You pick and choose what you think. You pick and choose what you think is appropriate to show.
Well, what do you think about all the shit I showed you? Which do you think he believes, this or that?
I think he believes both.
Oh.
This is not at
all.
He
both believes the Jews are our friends and also we need to murder them all.
Okay.
He believes the Jews are our friends and we need to murder them all. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
You conflate.
No, he said Jews. He, in the tweets, said this is what we're going to do to Jews.
Perspective. For them, when they talk about when they talk about Israel, they sometimes reflect it as
And that's
Jews.
the Jews' fault,
But
right?
Listen to me.
And you're blaming the victim.
Because in that interview that I conducted with him, I asked him about how he felt about Jews, anti-Zionist Jews specifically, and he said he loves them because
that
he
is
does not
such
have
a lie. You're such a liar.
You don't know this
he
person,
said,
Ethan.
I
He has
watched
no
it. That's
reason.
not what he
has
said,
no
though.
reason to
He said if
lie.
they
He's
support
in
Palestine,
fucking
then I
Yemen. He
like
could be
them.
dead by
He didn't.
now.
You're lying. You're just lying. You're lying about what he said. You're lying. I've seen that interview. You're lying.
Wait, what do you
he
mean?
He didn't say that. He said if they support Palestine, then that's good.
What?
Well, that's what he said.
Okay.
It's fucking materially way different than I love Jews. What the fuck you said?
No, you didn't hear you just repeated what I said.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said love, but I think he didn't. I guess he didn't say love.
What did he say?
He said
Hold
like.
on, Hasan. What did you say he said?
I said that I don't care what anyone's background is. I love them. Jew, Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter. If you are against Israel, I love them. That's what I said. He has no problem with Jews
said.
who are pro-Palestine.
That's nowhere close to what you said.
Dude.
Well, you realize you were wrong. You got caught in a lie, so you're revising. It's fine.
What?
All right, let's move on to the Nakba thing.
Dude, I don't care. Dude,
we got to move on, bro.
Ethan, listen to my words very carefully. If he had told me, okay, I hate all Jews unconditionally, I am an anti-Semitic person.
He did tweet that.
Okay,
he did tweet stuff like that.
The conversation would go very differently. But even then, I probably wouldn't be as vicious as you assume
He literally
I would,
said that on social media continually.
Because I understand the material conditions and what
kill all
plays
Jews.
a role in people's recognition of the world. What their
Nobody needs to
upbringing
fear
looks
us but
like.
Jews, he said. I'm going to shove my gun and kill Jews.
What? No, he didn't say that.
I'll play it again. You want me to play it again?
Oh, God. Okay, dude. You just play the fucking clip then. God damn it. Just play the clip.
Okay.
He said Zionist, but play the fucking clip, Ethan.
Yeah. I'll play it.
Play the clip I sent you without fucking complaining. He's
No,
always
why-
too dolled up.
But you want me to watch your clip? I thought, no, we're going to watch my clip.
No, play the fucking clip I sent you. Stop
By the
being
way,
so
is this? I don't know if this
stubborn.
is. I don't know if this music's claimed. By the way, we can.
It's fine.
It does matter.
It's most likely
Unfortunately,
not
you're on
fucking
Twitch
claimed.
where
Come on.
stealing content is fucking regular, but on YouTube there's standards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. God forbid someone might copy strike you, and then their lawyers might demand erroneous.
Which you admitted is sometimes warranted. Where's the
fair
link
use,
of
Mr. Fair Use?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what fair use is? You fucking moron. It's using it fairly. There's a big difference between
fair use is when you get mad at Redditors criticizing you, so you fucking you get your high-powered
course I care about my
attorney to
monetization
fucking sue them
status.
and make demands about how they have to,
What's that have to do with fair
release
use, man?
information about their about
All
their
right,
allegiances to
let me
Reddit.
play this for a minute and then we'll move on.
All right, play it.
فوق رؤوسنا وما في عندنا أي مشكلة وهذه رسالتي لليهود أتمنى أن توصل وطبعا وأشكر
This is the most pathetic terrorist propaganda bullshit I have ever seen, and the fact that you actually think this is credible is so hilarious
Dude,
to me. Wow.
Look, man.
Let's keep it going. No, I love this. This is great. Let him.
All right, just keep playing it. Keep playing it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying. I don't know where the audio went. Oh, why was it? Sorry, hold on. We're having.
I pulled it back up.
Taylor Lorenz tweeted, "What's so crazy is that we tried to nab an interview with Rashad, the Yemeni teen who went viral for WAPO before Hasan the Hun got the scoop. Ethan continues to chastise Hasan for legitimate journalism and an interview that half the
What was
MSM was
legitimate
chasing."
journalism? Well, first of all, Taylor Lorenz is a fucking hack loser who's obsessed with you, okay? Of course she would say that. She, by the way, what was the legitimate? Name one question you asked him that represents legitimate journalism.
Okay, great.
One question.
Great question. What do you feel about anti-Zionist Jews leading many of the anti-Israel protests in the United States of America?
That's your most important journalistic question, which he basically said.
No, you
they're
asked
cool.
me
If they're-
one. I gave you one.
I don't think that. I mean, I find that to be insignificant, especially considering his answer. No follow-up questions. Why don't you ask him if he? Why don't you ask a follow-up question like,
Ethan,
do you not care if they're Zionist Jews? That they're Israeli Jews that support you?
I don't give a fuck if he cares if there's Zionist Jews or not.
What about why?
Israeli
Do you
Jews. What are you
think?
talking
Hey,
about?
what was the hard-hitting part about asking if he likes One Piece? Was that hard-hitting journalism?
No, it was called humanizing.
That was called cringe as fuck, glazing,
Yeah,
pathetic.
because you don't like when a fucking brown person gets a little bit of airspace and they look
that
like
right?
a human being.
So
and
you're
not a
resorting to
fucking
calling me
barbaric
racist now.
monster.
By the way, this
Because
dude's
you're
white as fuck. What are you
Islamophobic,
talking
Ethan.
about? This dude's whiter than I am. What the
All
fuck
right,
are you
let's get
talking
back to
about,
the
dipshit?
IDF. So
Hold
you
on,
said
you
the
accuse
IDF
me of
could
being
be
racist. Are you
declared
talking
a
about this
terrorist
guy?
organization,
Are you
and
talking
your
about
wife
this
is a part of the
guy?
IDF. Do you think it's
Give me a
appropriate
break,
to call
dude.
your wife a terrorist?
I think you do. No, I don't.
You don't think it's appropriate? Okay.
No.
You have stated time and time again that you believe, to show how pro-Palestine you are, that you believe settlers are valid military targets. Who do
Right.
you think is protecting the settlers who you claim are valid
IDF
military
is
targets?
protecting them, and it's
in
fucking
the
insane.
process,
Yeah,
in
it's
the
horrible.
process of their
Was
pogroms
my wife
that
out
they're
there
doing.
protecting? Sorry, was Hila out there protecting settlers?
No, she was doing a night raid, as a matter of fact, and I didn't know any of this until recently. For the record, until a couple
She was a
months ago.
fucking yeah.
She was
You're
out
gonna do
there
the Raider of
doing night
Ramallah
raids.
snark
Do you
bullshit.
think-
Go on, yeah. Your community doesn't harass anyone. She was 18 years old. She went on a ride along to Ramallah for some kind of fucking mission. She stayed in the car, and then they went back, and that's all that happened. She's
described
18 years
the
old, bro. She's a
process of
secretary.
taking someone hostage. You called him it, by the way. That person was a Palestinian living in his own,
Yeah, maybe-
living in his
Can they-
own fucking home. And your wife went
Can they
on
not
a
commit
raid
crimes?
to Ramallah, which you have called a terror city.
Yeah,
So
that
there's
was an old
inconsistency
clip.
here.
I don't think
your
Ramallah's
wife
a terrorist
valid
city.
military target in that process? Because you've said that settlers are valid military targets. Do you think your wife is a valid military target? Do you think your wife is a terrorist?
She's not a West
Ethan?
Bank settler. She's not a West Bank settler.
But she's in the West Bank.
Bad
Where's
Empanada
Ramallah,
thinks she
Ethan?
is. Bad Empanada thinks she's valid. Your friends over at Second Thought think that she's a valid target.
You think
Do
she's
you?
a valid military target? That's
Do
my
you think
point,
she's a
because
valid
there's
military target?
inconsistencies here.
Do you think she's a valid military target?
I do not, as a matter of fact. I
Wow,
don't.
great.
Okay?
All right, can we please move on to this
no,
the Nakba
listen
thing?
to me. Listen
Hasan,
to me.
bro, you're making this
Listen to me.
unwatchable.
Listen to me. Okay?
We got to move on.
How does this make sense in your mind? You say Israel is doing genocide. She has participated in the kidnapping of a Palestinian in the West Bank. You say
You don't know
hate
who
the
was
West
kidnapped
Bank.
and for
You
what
say
reason.
You
We
hate
don't-
the settlers.
Well, we don't know who is.
protects the
First of all,
settlers, Ethan. Your wife did.
kidnapped. They arrested somebody. We don't know what happened or what they did.
Oh, so it
what
was,
if he
it was
fucking
justifiable.
stabbed
Do you
civilians?
understand
Doesn't
the
that
process
happen?
in which how people are arrested in the West Bank, Ethan?
Do Palestinian terrorists never stab and blow up
They're
civilians?
placed under military detention. They are not actually placed. They do not go through a
Do
civil court
Palestinian
process.
terrorists
They are
ever
not-
commit violence on
they
civilians
are
that would
not-
warrant them being
they
arrested?
Are
Give me a
not
fucking break.
in the West Bank.
You don't know anything
Palestinians
about
that are
this person
kidnapped
or this
are
raid.
in Ramallah, in Palestinian territory. Your wife was an illegal occupier of a terrorist organization, also known as the Israeli Occupying Force, Ethan. Now, I know people that have
That's
also
not how it's
served
known,
in
but
the Israeli
that's what
Occupying
you call
Force, as
it.
a matter of fact. I've relied on breaking the silence.
By the way, her name
for
is
example,
Hila. I don't know if
in
you keep
terms of
doing
my
your
coverage.
wife. Why do you do that? Why do you
What?
keep referring to her as my wife? It's bizarre.
Okay, Hila, whatever, who cares?
Well, it just belies some
hyper-focusing on
really
random
bizarre
shit.
thing.
Stop
It's not
hyper-focusing on
random
random
at all.
shit.
It says a lot.
Listen to my words. Listen to my
Oh,
words.
Please.
I
It's
have
so
no
exhausting.
issue with someone as long as they have recognized their mistakes, as long as they recognize that that was wrong. What I take issue with is consistently defending Israel. You have also participated in the defense of Israel. It makes no sense. You're inconsistent. You say it's a genocide, but people can't resist militarily. You say it's a genocide, but all of the people who are outspoken are vile anti-Semites.
Hila
Who
was
is
doing
supposed to be
hold
able to
on.
resist against this genocide?
Hold
Do you
the
actually think it's a
phone.
genocide?
Hila was doing mandatory military service. What should she have done?
There's numerous options. One, religious
Yeah.
exemption. Two, refusing to serve. But even then, I don't have a problem with her being socially conditioned into thinking that this is appropriate. I have a problem with what she's saying now. I have a problem with how she
What'd she
reflects
say now
on
that's
that
wrong?
and doesn't realize that that was an unjustifiable thing to do. Those
Hey,
are
well,
real
listen.
human beings
You can talk
that are
to
getting
you can talk to
kidnapped.
her. Debate about it. I don't know what you're even referring to. Okay.
What?
I don't even know what the fuck you're referring to. You're just calling my wife a terrorist. Like, give me a break,
No.
dude. She
She
did
has
mandatory.
talked on your
Let me ask you a
podcast-
question.
She's talked
Hasan,
on your podcast
please, you
about
gotta let me talk.
how she went on a raid. She was
You
bored.
have
She
to
had a
let me
secretary
talk.
job.
The fact that
It's
you're just
mandatory
talking over
conscription.
me
It was an
and
adventure
being
for her.
louder does not mean you're right. I promise.
What?
Being louder and talking more does not mean you're
She
right. Okay?
volunteered.
It's good to listen to what I have to say.
Okay.
She's part
Is
of
it a lie?
mandatory conscription.
Did Hila not volunteer? Did Hila not volunteer to go to the West Bank on a raid because she was bored in Ramallah?
Yeah, she's 18. It's understandable.
Okay.
We don't know what that guy did, though. We don't know what
Oh, so he could have been
raid was for.
he could have been a vicious
What
terrorist
if he
monster,
killed
is what you're
people?
saying.
Yeah. What if he killed people? Of course. If he killed people, of course
Ethan,
he would be worthy of being
Ethan,
arrested.
Is Ramallah a part of Israeli territory?
I mean, it's complicated, right? It's under occupation. No, I don't think so, but it's under occupation, right?
Okay. So why was your wife in Ramallah?
Maybe are getting a terrorist that killed civilians. She
It's
sat in a
not
car.
complicated, Ethan.
She
It's
sat in a
not
car and
complicated
didn't
at
even
all.
leave it and never
Your
did
wife
it again.
participated in an illegal raid according to international human rights. That is the reality. Now, I
Are
understand.
you upset
the
if this
importance of
person
social
killed like
conditioning.
a
If she
child?
were-
Would you be upset if this
she were to
person
talk
they
about-
arrested like
if-
stabbed people? Like you
if
don't know what
she
you're
were
talking
to
about.
talk about how fucked
Okay,
up
fine.
that
My wife's a
was-
terrorist, bro. What the fuck? It's so
No,
boring.
stop. Listen to my words. If she
No,
were to talk about
my
how
wife
fucked
is a
up that is,
terrorist.
as
Very
many former IDF vets have on breaking the silence, if she talked about the night raid that she participated in the same way that
Just
former
like Frogan
IDF
says,
vets
only
that
I
are
don't
part of
hate
breaking
only the ones that
silence talk
regret
about,
it.
I would have no issue with her.
Do you hope
wanna know
she gets
why? Because I understand
PTSD
people can
too?
change.
I don't condone the raid, but I mean, see, neither of us have any information about like what actually happened. You know what I mean?
There is no. You don't understand. She is illegally there. She is not
Okay,
supposed to be
she's a
there.
terrorist.
It does not matter.
She's
Her
right.
and her entire brigade was not supposed to be there. That is an act of
I don't think
terror.
she knew
And
what
as a
they were
matter of
doing.
fact, what she participated
I don't think she
in-
knew what they were doing or where they were going.
What she participated in is
I don't think
called
she
a
knew
night
where they
raid.
were going or what
she
they were doing.
participated in is called
Okay,
a
she's a
night
terrorist,
raid.
bro. Please, we got to move on.
The
This is,
reason
like,
why
just
the reason
so-
why the Israeli occupying force, the reason why
Oh
the
my
Israeli
God,
occupying force
dude.
participates
People wanna
in
watch
these night
this.
raids in the West Bank,
You're making
is
this
to create
unwatchable.
a
Let's just-
constant feeling of terror.
Hassan, talking more does not make you right. Okay, you got
The
to
reason
understand.
why the Israeli occupying force
You're repeating
participates
yourself.
in night raids is to create a constant sense of terror upon the
We
Palestinians.
don't condone
who
it.
are
She was
there
19. She
in
was
their
doing
own
military
land. Listen to
conscription. She
me.
didn't know where they were going
Listen
or what
to
they
me.
were doing.
Listen
okay?
to me.
Thank you.
Listen to
I'm
me.
listening, but you just keep repeating yourself.
The
This is what
reason
you
why,
do. You gotta move on. I want to
the
have
reason why I know that. Do you
Son,
want to know why I know
gotta
that?
stop.
Do
Do
you
you
wanna know
want
why
this
I
to be
know that?
unwatchable? Is that what you want?
What?
Do you want this to be unwatchable?
The reason why I know that, Ethan, is because
I'm
of
take that as a
breaking the
yes.
silence veterans who have come out and spoken out against this practice. That's why I know that.
Hasan, you say that Ela could have gone to jail and done a conscientious objection instead of joining the army. Why do you pay taxes?
What?
Why do you pay taxes to
This
the United
is your
States
big
government?
argument, Ethan?
Answer
that I
the
pay
question.
taxes and I'm morally culpable. I know. That's why I try to fucking fight against
Why don't
this
you go to
goddamn government
jail?
doing this shit
Well,
every
why don't you
day.
stand up for your? Hold on. Why don't you stand up for your principles and go to jail for it?
Because it would not actually stop. Okay, it would not actually stop. The reason why I'm saying,
What wouldn't stop?
I don't take issue with Hila's fucking actions then, as long as, just like you said, she was just 19 years old. I take issue with the fact that she still defends it on principle. She says the
What did she
Israeli
say?
occupying force is not a terror organization. You have a disagreement with him. Or
Well,
her,
I think
sorry.
I think I can see it from her perspective too, which is like, you know, the problem with you
Yeah.
is that
But you
everything's black
can't
and
see
white.
it from Rashid al-Haddad's perspective, and you
Yeah,
know
he's a
for a
fucking
fact
terrorist
that your
who says he wants
audience
to
also
kill
doesn't see
Jews,
it, and
that you
that's
said
why
it's like
you can
Anne
fucking
Frank.
constantly claim that he is a terrorist, whereas
Oh
your
my
wife,
God, bro!
well, it's
Please,
complicated.
I want this to be watchable. Okay, let's move on, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. You made your
Got
point.
it.
You made your point. Okay. So specifically, you said this, which is you said in the context puke. You said this was the worst thing I did. So let me play it, okay, and then we can discuss.
More Jews displaced than Palestinians.
Let me go back
in
just 'cause-
1948
yeah,
countries
just to give the
that
whole context.
expelled them in massive amounts following the 1948 war. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians.
This was one of the
during
worst pieces of misinformation I've seen in the fucking context puke. For the record, it was crazy.
Nakba.
This specific
So Mike, again, nicely done. Let this guy hold your hand and formulate your opinions, but he's not here to help you, okay? So you tell me what was wrong with what was misinformation about saying that 900,000 Jews were displaced?
You make a comparison between Planned Dalit, which is a planned ethnic cleansing campaign, to one, horrify Palestinians inside of villages that had actually no arms whatsoever because they had specific peace agreements that they've done with Jewish villages.
What was
by
the exaggeration?
Killing them and including
No.
by,
This isn't a
by
comparison
massacring
question.
them, and then
What was the
and then
hell, bro?
letting
You are
survivors
incapable
tell the
of
tale.
answering anything.
You asked me a question and I can't even fucking
No,
answer
you're
it. What are
not
we doing?
answering it. You're not. You're just
I
going
am.
on and on.
I am answering it, Ethan.
What was the exaggeration?
Ethan, sit the fuck
About
down and
the
listen to the
historical
history
fact
lesson.
of
Okay,
not-
you're gonna learn a little bit right now. Okay, Deir Yassin is Tantura. These are two very famous massacres that took place. The brigades, the militant brigades, the Zionist brigades that then formed the IDF, including some that personally called themselves terrorists, by the way, Lihi and Irgun, went in and did horrifying mass rape, kidnappings, throwing people in ovens. And then the survivors
does that have
left
to do with that?
tell the tale. In that process, these brigades would go to each individual city and forcibly ethnically cleanse 750,000 Palestinians. This is known as the Nakba.
What the fuck does that have to do with the Jewish refugees? Answer that question. I know what the Nakba is. I don't deny it.
Do you think that that is even remotely comparable to Jewish people
How is it
leaving
not?
sometimes voluntarily and sometimes because their governments had made deals with
How many left
either
voluntarily?
Israel or France?
How many of the 900,000 left voluntarily?
I don't know the exact number of how many left voluntarily. Do
Take
you?
a guess. Take a guess.
I would suspect that a big chunk of them, you're going to say, did not leave voluntarily, but that is not the case.
Well,
Most of
you're
them left
lying and
voluntarily.
you're fucking
Ethan.
dead wrong. You brought up the fact that I talked about what happened in Iraq. So let me give you a timeline of what happened in Iraq. 1932, they gain independence. 1934, Hebrew is banned. Jews are fired from government positions. 1938, Zionist activity is outlawed. Crimes as trivial as possessing a biblical map of the Holy One will send you to jail. The Farhud pogrom, inspired by neo-Nazis, Rashid al-Khalini killed 180 Jews. Hundreds were injured. Widespread looting, property damage. 1947, Jews were banned from immigrating because they didn't want them to go strengthen the state of Israel, and they wanted to hold them prisoners against Israel and the West. In 1948, the war begins. Jewish banks were forbidden to transact with foreign countries. Jews were arrested for Zionist activity, for economic crimes. They were fines that were paid to the Ministry of Defense. In 1949, a month after taking office,
Can I ask
the
you a
British
question?
learned
Just
that
one
they were
question.
planning to expel the Jews from Iraq before they even left.
Did
Does
you-
this sound like volunteer?
did you-
Does this sound voluntary?
Okay,
Does that
here,
sound voluntary?
Dan, I sent you a clip. You can play.
No,
it.
no, no,
One of
no,
the
no,
most-
no.
One of
Does
the
it-
most important scholars on this issue
Oh my
is
God,
an Iraqi
please.
Jew by the name of Avi
Oh.
Shlaim.
Yeah, I love this. Let's listen to him.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Yeah.
Jews were convinced that Israel had a hand in uprooting them. After the 1948 war, there was mounting popular hostility towards the Jews in Iraq. 5 bombs exploded in Jewish sites. The series of bombs created a panic which led more and more Jews to register to leave the country. I met an elderly friend of my mother's, an Iraqi Jew called Yaakov Karkukli, who had been in the Zionist underground. One member of his group, Yosef Basri, a very, very intelligent Jewish lawyer, and his assistant, Shalom Saleh Shalom, were responsible for 3 out of the 5 bombs. Basri's controller was an Israeli intelligence officer.
And so
named Max
let's grant that what he's saying is true and that 3 of the 5 bombs were done by Zionists, right? How does that explain 150,000 people leaving the fucking country?
Why?
Thousands of years of civilization that have been there, 2,000 years, just
Yeah.
picking up and leaving, almost virtually gone. How does that explain that?
Why is it that
A
the
few bombs?
Israeli government? Why is it the Israeli government benefited from creating instability and making it seem as though these countries were uninhabitable? And why do you think that, despite the fact that Iraq and numerous other countries have offered Israelis or Jews a right to return, why has
Because
that
they were
failed
being
on the
fucking-
Israeli front for numerous reasons? I know why.
Let me
but
tell you an
maybe can
inconvenient fact
arrive
for
at
you,
that
Hasan.
conclusion.
Let me tell you an
I
inconvenient
wonder why
fact.
that happened right as
Before
Israel
the
was
bombs
being
went off,
established.
Before the bombs went off, 100,000 of the 125 Jews were already registered to leave. You want to explain that?
Yes. Jews wanted to go to Israel, Ethan. They liked the idea.
Okay, great.
Of going
So
to
let me hear what Avi.
Israel.
Okay,
you
so
like Israel. What do you mean?
you're a liar. You're a disgusting fucking propagandist liar. Here's what Avi Schleim actually
My
said.
research, I established
Scumbag.
that one bomb was lobbed, one hand grenade was lobbed by a young activist in the Istiklal Party, which wanted to expel the Jews from Iraq and confiscate the properties. And another hand grenade was lobbed into the Masoud Hashem Tov synagogue, and there 4 people were killed. And he was a criminal who had a grudge against the Jews, and it had nothing to do with the Mossad.
Did you hear that? The first 2 had nothing to do with the Mossad. But let's continue to listen to the respected scholar,
I
Avi
never said
Schleim,
that.
you
Wait,
fucking
hold
liar.
on. Ethan.
Nope, you listen
did
to
I
this
make a
fucking
claim
historian.
that the first
Yes,
2
you
were a
said
part
they
of the
left by
Mossad?
choice. They left because of Zionism. They left
They
because
did.
they were
had a
being
place to go,
threatened.
and they wanted
Let's
to go
hear what
there.
your respected historian has to say, you liar.
That's right. Even
Listen.
if all this is true, the main reason for the exodus was not the bombs, it was persecution by the government. And I concede that. It's not part of my argument that the bombs were the main reason for the liquidation of this community. But my answer to my Zionist critics is, even if I knew for certain that not a single Iraqi Jew left Iraq to go to Israel because of the bombs, I would still think this is a real indictment of the state of Israel, because Israel was created to provide a safe haven for Jews, not to be harassing and threatening Jews in other countries.
By the way, he said, and I'll quote it for you, we did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe. He wrote that in his book, 3 Worlds. Have you read that book?
No, I have not read 3 Worlds.
Okay, well, you're using a lot of source from it. It's a book that he wrote about
That's
his
not the only book
migration.
he wrote about this. But go on.
Have you read any of the other ones?
Yes.
Really? Which ones?
The book that I'm referencing is from the Iron Wall.
3 Worlds, okay? He writes about his time in Iraq.
Memoirs of an
He writes
Arab
about his
Jew.
time
It's the
in
newest
Israel.
book, I know.
He writes about his time in the UK. In 3 Worlds, he writes about his own family, and he describes their departure from Iraq as traumatic, disorienting, and not voluntary. They were not proud Zionist migrations. They were leaving out of fear.
Ethan.
He said that himself.
Ethan.
He
My
said,
friend.
we did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no
My
longer
friend,
safe.
You are failing to comprehend a very important reason why I brought up Avi Schleim, by the way. And here's
Yeah, because you think he supports your claim, but he absolutely does not.
no.
That's why, because
first
you're
of
a
all,
fucking liar.
He absolutely does.
Contend
But
with what I
hold
said.
on, let me
No.
explain.
Contend with what I'm saying. He said we
Ethan,
did not leave
the
Iraq
plan-
because we were Zionists. We
Ethan.
left because we were no longer safe. Do you want to explain what he meant by
Ethan,
that?
Ethan,
Explain what he meant by
Ethan,
saying we
this
didn't
is
leave
not-
because
this
we
is
were
not the concept
Zionists.
you
We
think it
left
is.
because we were no longer safe.
Okay, I can't
Explain
wait
to me.
I can't wait to bring up Avi Schleim on the broadcast to make you fucking look like a dumbass. Let me
I
tell
can't
you
wait too.
something.
And now explain what he means by that. We did not leave Iraq
Because
because
it's
we were
not-
Zionists. We left because we were no longer
Iraqis
safe.
are not Palestinian, you fucking moron, you racist piece of shit. Because Iraq
What?
and the pan-Arabic nationalist
They
movements
left-
that arise out of Zionist
You are
violence
out of your
is
mind.
not about Palestinians. You
Okay,
cannot
so
make
what
this
did the Jews in
comparison.
Iraq have to do with
Zionists were
fucking
the ones
Israel,
who
you
actually
bigot?
fucking terrorized the
You are
Palestinians.
so out of
And
your
then
mind.
Iraqis,
Dude, you
cannot
screaming and
point to the
grandstanding
Iraqis
doesn't
or
mean you're
Iraqi
right.
government's
This is pathetic.
racism during the
Okay.
pan-Arabic nationalist movements as a vindication for why, or a comparison as to why Israel had to do the Nakba.
Do you
You
think
fucking
that?
racist piece of shit.
Thanks,
Do you
Hasan.
think Iraq? Do you think all
do you want-
Arabs have one fucking mind? Is that what
Why
you think?
the fuck were the Iraqi Jews leaving Iraq in fear?
Of course there were Iraqi Jews that left Iraq in fear.
Because
I've
why?
Never said that there
Because
were no
why?
Iraqi
Answer
Jews
the
that left
question.
Iraq in
You want to
fear.
call me racist? Why were Iraqi Jews leaving to go to
Because
Israel?
You're a fucking moron who doesn't understand.
That's why
that
they
Iraq
left. They
is
left
not
because I'm a fucking
Palestine,
moron?
That Arabs are not one-minded.
Hasan, you
That there were
coward.
numerous
You
pan-Arabic
coward.
nationalist movements.
Answer the
that were
question. You're going to call me
sparking up
racist,
all
but you
around
won't
the
answer.
region, Ethan.
Why did the Iraqi Jews leave Iraq?
There were numerous reasons.
Because of
why the Israeli
anti-Semitism. They hated Jewish people that had nothing to do with Israel.
Dude, shut
they
the
were
fuck
forced
up,
to leave.
dude.
They were
Shut
chased
up.
out. They lived there for
hated
thousands
Jewish
of
people.
years.
Yes,
they had
everyone
businesses,
hated
they had
Jewish
homes
people.
that they were
It's weird.
forced to abandon to go to Israel because it was the only fucking place they could. Why would Iraqis hate the Jews living there if they had nothing to do with Zionism or Israel? Why?
Because settler colonialism was already
That has
taking
nothing to
place
do with
in
them, you
British
absolute
mandate
fucking
Palestine,
dumbass.
Ethan.
What does that have to do with the Iraqi Jews?
Do you think the Aliyahs were happening initially?
So
Do
it
you
was
think the
there.
Aliyahs
So
were
you're blaming
happening
them? Are you
in
blaming
one-
the Iraqi Jews who had nothing to do with it? What the fuck is your point?
I am
You
not
call me
justifying
racist.
the racism. I'm not justifying it. You're not comprehending my
Yes,
point.
you are. They
I've
left
never justified that.
because
And
the
I've
Iraq
also
turned on them
openly
after
recognized-
1948.
Ethan,
You're
I have
materially
openly
wrong. You're a liar.
recognized that there were numerous reasons why other countries, I know, hard concept, all Arab, they all
Yeah.
have the same mindset.
I
Other
know. Let's go
countries
over
and their
them,
pan-Arabic
genius.
nationalist movements as states were being
Let's go over them.
designed,
In
mostly
Egypt,
mostly by Western nations.
You want to talk facts? Let's talk facts.
Ethan, you don't know.
In
You got
Egypt.
fucking a chat GPT summary. Let me explain to you
Hey,
so
Hasan,
you can
let
fucking
me-
not look like a dumbass.
Okay. Do you want to listen or do you just want to add home?
No, I want to tell you my perspective.
No,
This is
you wanna
supposed to
talk.
be
That's the
an
problem. You don't
admonishment
wanna
of my-
listen.
You're
You've
supposed to be
talked
attacking my
plenty.
perspective.
You called me
clarify
racist,
my
bro. The
position
least you could
so
do is
can
shut the fuck
understand.
up and listen to me talk, okay? The Iraqi Jews left because they were in fear of anti-Semitism. They had nothing to do with Israel or Zionism. The Arabs in Iraq, the Iraqis, turned on them because of what happened in the war in 1948. That had nothing to do with them. So if you want to blame the
not
Jews
just
for their own
1948.
anti-Semitism,
It's
you
not
go
just
right ahead, but that's
1948.
racism. Now let's talk about
I also
Egypt.
recognize that.
No, you're not. You are absolutely not. In Egypt, 75,000 Jews were displaced. Okay?
Ethan,
Following
is
anti-Jewish
Egypt
riots and
Palestine?
bombs in
Is
Egypt.
Palestinians? Is Egypt Palestinians? Is Iraq Palestinians? Why were the Palestinians never
got
allowed
nothing
to
to
return?
do with that.
A
They were
right
forced
that
to
every
go there
single
by
one of
the
these
Arab
have
countries.
offered the Jews that were expelled or left on their own voluntarily.
listen,
These
Hasan.
are completely separate countries.
Nobody's
You
justifying
are
the
packaging them
Nakba.
together to
No,
make a
no one is
horrifying
justifying the
position.
Nakba. I'm explaining how it's fucking insanely racist to discredit the plight, the
No, you're
running
fucking
of
racist because I don't
discrimination.
discredit the plight. I think
But
you're,
I'm not justifying the Nakba. You seem to be justifying why Jews were chased out of their home country.
No, I'm not, Ethan.
Why'd
I'm
they
not
leave?
justifying
Why'd they
that at all.
leave?
You think
Why'd
that,
they leave?
You think that because you want to drive home a point that this is
Why did they
anti-Semitic.
leave their
You
communities
are
that have been there
making-
for 2,000 years, leaving their money,
You will
their
never
businesses,
understand.
their
I don't
homes?
think
Why
you'll
did they
understand.
leave?
Do you think Iraq is Palestine? Do you think Egypt is Palestine? Do
Nobody's
you think,
defending
do you
the
think,
Nakba.
Do you think that all Arabs are operating on antiquated anti-Semitism? And if your answer is yes, why
you're
the fuck did Jews find the Ottoman Empire to be a safe haven for fucking hundreds
Where's the Ottoman
of years
Empire?
when the
Let's talk
when
about the last 100
Christians
years.
in Western
That's great.
Europe
Yeah, the Ottoman
were-
Empire was great for the Jews. Let's talk about the last 100 years. Let's talk about 1948.
Yeah, of course,
Anti-Jewish
of course,
riots
it's
broke
Israel.
out
Of course.
after the war. Hassan, you need to shut the fuck up and listen, okay?
Oh my
after
God.
The war, after the war, okay, in 1948, there was anti-Jewish riots and bombs in Egypt. Why was that? Because of the Jews? The Jews brought it on themselves? Following the
I
establishment
never
of
made that
Israel.
inference. What are you talking about?
Of course you did.
No, I didn't. I did not make that inference at all.
So they left because Zionism.
No, Ethan, if you were to listen to my words, and I use them very carefully, even though I get heated
Yes,
sometimes.
careful, right.
Okay. Egypt, Iraq, Morocco, each of these countries where Jews lived in the MENA region all the way to the Levant had different reasons. Some of them were direct pogroms. Others
Lie.
were
You're a liar.
the colonial.
You are a tangibly, historically
Do you think that
proven
Do you think
liar.
That Jews,
And I
just
feel
said
let
that
me
some of them were because of pogroms. You're not hearing anything I'm saying. You're so conditioned into saying
No,
liar
no.
that you're
The amount
undermining
that
your own
left,
point.
the amount that left because of Zionism was minute. They were chased out. They were
Ethan.
forced to become Zionists by their oppressors because they had nowhere else to go. In Egypt, following the establishment of Israel in May
Ethan,
1948,
none of these countries are
after
Palestine.
that
None of these
is
countries.
an
these
insanely
countries are-
irrelevant point. A series
Dude,
of
you
bombs
can't make a
targeted Jewish
comparison
areas in
between the
Cairo
planned
between
ethnic
June and
cleansing
September.
campaign and
They
other
killed
countries.
70
That's my
Jews,
point.
injured 200. They confiscated Jewish-owned businesses and synagogues were attacked and destroyed. Okay?
Ethan,
In
listen to my
1956,
words.
the Suez
One
Crisis.
is direct
1956.
violence, planned violence and an extermination campaign. The other
approximately
is
25,000 Jews were
The other
expelled
is
from
falsely
Egypt.
misplaced hostility.
25,000 Jews were
from
expelled.
other countries.
So are you blaming them?
You don't understand this, and you
Hold on.
will
Are you
never
blaming the
understand this, I
Jews
don't
for
think.
getting? Are you blaming the Jews for being expelled from Egypt? 25,000
No,
of them.
Ethan. If you listen to
Okay.
my words, you would understand.
So what is it I exaggerated about? 900,000 Jews were displaced.
Because you are making a comparison with different countries
No, I'm not.
versus one singular force that planned an extermination campaign, planned an ethnic cleansing campaign. Other countries and the reaction to it, or other countries and the previous hostility towards Jews have nothing to do with Palestinians. So making this comparison
Of course not. That's
is
why it's
gross.
anti-Semitic.
It's like
That's why it's anti-Semitic. It has nothing to do with Palestine, but they still got kicked out for being Jewish. That's literally what anti-Semitism.
It's like
1,000 Jews in Egypt were arrested and detained without charges. The government seized 500 Jewish-owned businesses and froze bank accounts. Expelled Jews were compelled to sign a declaration donating their property to the Egyptian state and were allowed to take only minimal personal belongings. In Algeria, 130,000 Jews were expelled. On the independence,
that's not Palestine. They're not. They're just
dude,
Arabs. They're not the same fucking people.
So my point is very simple. They were expelled from their homes because of anti-Semitism.
Ethan, you used Egypt as an
Sorry,
example.
what is
Half of
wrong
these
about
countries
that?
you're pointing
What is
to
wrong
in the
with what I
time
just
when
said? They were
Jews leaving
expelled.
Were literally controlled
Hasan, please,
by
you've got to
English
fucking
and
answer a
French,
question.
by the English
They were-
and French colonial
They were
occupations.
expelled.
What are you talking about?
They were expelled because of anti-Semitism. What did I say wrong?
Oh my God.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Algeria was under French occupation. It is the design where the French occupied Algeria did not squash the attempts of expelling Jews. I'm not saying that there wasn't actually
Most Algerians were
anti-Semitic
French
action
citizens and went to
that
France.
caused Jews to feel unsafe, Ethan.
95% of Algeria's 140,000 Jewish population.
Individual, often, sometimes Western powers and what they allowed in those countries on the Palestinian plight when you make this comparison. That's what I'm saying.
Is it anti-Semitic for Jewish people to get kicked out of their home?
Genocide, right? The Turkish, the Ottoman Empire and the forces and the Ottoman genocide that they conducted, a mass extermination campaign, is because other fucking random countries where Armenians were
Iraq
were
happened
also
after
getting
independence and as
equally
a
dispelled. Turks were getting dispelled
Dude,
in other countries.
The
It's
pogrom
ironically
happened
the
as
same
a
fucking
direct
thing that's the way that it was
result of
taught
the
in
war,
the
bro.
past, that it was a
By the way, did you say-
necessary voluntary migration.
By the way,
because-
oh my God, bro. Did you say Anne Frank died before she could resist? I don't know if that was a fever dream.
Wait, I'm saying that, like, would you have an issue with Anne Frank if she actually was able to fucking
Sorry, I just thought it was an insane thing to say. I'm not trying to litigate it. And Tripoli.
Wait.
Anti-Jewish riots
What's your point?
broke out
What's your
amid
point? What's your point
post-war
about Anne Frank?
unrest.
Yes, I did.
Synagogues
Okay.
were burned.
What's your point
Jewish
about Anne Frank?
institutions were shut
What's
down.
your point about Anne Frank? Why are you trying to deflect away from what I'm saying here?
That she's no, I just think that statement was insane. The
was that
Six-Day
an
War
insane-
backlash.
Whoa.
In 1967, another
My question
Israel
for you
victory,
was, would you
mobbed
hate on Anne Frank
Jewish
if she
communities
wasn't a
got mobbed.
pacifist?
6,000 Jews were evacuated, homes were destroyed, synagogues were burned. In Morocco, 250,000 Jews were expelled. Anti-Jewish riots broke out in 1948. You'll notice all of these, most of these pogroms are happening in 1948 as a direct result of the war. The Arabs turned on their Jewish populace out of anti-Semitism, period, point blank. June 7 to 8, 1948. In northeastern Morocco, following the declaration of the State of Independence, the State of Israel on May 14, 1948, anti-Jewish riots erupted in the town of Jarada. These towns were significant transit points for Moroccan Jews seeking to immigrate. 47 Jews were killed, many were injured. Jewish homes and businesses were looted and destroyed. In 1950, 1960, harassment and immigration. The year following 1948 riot, Moroccan Jews faced increased pressure. These factors contributed to a significant immigration of Jews from Morocco. Immigration to Israel was banned in 1959, but before that, 274,000 Moroccan Jews immigrated primarily to Israel. Yemen and Aden.
Remember when you said you weren't a Zionist?
50,000.
Remember when you said you weren't a Zionist? These are direct Zionist talking points.
This is historical facts, literally spread by your very own Avi Schleim, who, if I'll quote him back to you, said, we didn't leave because we were Zionists.
On top of
we
this,
did not
Avi
leave
Schleim's
because we were Zionists. We left because we were afraid.
Ethan, that's the difference. If you asked Avi Schleim whether it is comparable to say the Nakba and the 900,000 Jews that left
I'm not defending the Nakba.
Separate countries, he would laugh at you.
Your failure to acknowledge the trauma of both groups is the reason why you are a radical fucking propagandist liar. Both trauma needs to be acknowledged by both groups. There's two things that need to be true for this ever to be resolved peacefully.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Palestinian self-determination and the Israelis' right to have secure borders. As long as you ignore that, there will always be war. Palestinians will always die, and you will continue to make money from it. Operation Magic Carpet. Jews were secretly airlifted to Israel due to rising hostility.
It's so 50,000 because
50,000 were relocated. In Tunisia, 130,000 after
the PLO did recognize that, and they wanted those countries to actually do a right to return for all Jews. Why did Israel stop that from happening, Ethan? Don't you think that Zionism is the problem here?
Avi Schleim said,
what happened? They didn't fucking send you that clip? They didn't send you that fucking piece of information? So the PLO, Yasser Arafat, the people that don't care about Jewish plight, actually did see wrongdoing.
The guy who oversaw the second Intifada? What the fuck are you on about?
Go back and do a right to return if they wanted to do so into their nation of origin, as a matter of fact.
I'm talking about the flights,
Israel was the one who didn't want that to happen.
You deny the flight of Middle Eastern Jews. No, you deny the flight. You deny the trauma of Middle Eastern Jews.
Flight, Ethan.
You absolutely deny the trauma. No, you deny that they left by. You try to say that they left by choice. That is a gross historical inaccuracy.
Jews that left by choice. That is true.
Yes, some did. Of the 900,000, the vast majority left because they were afraid.
Ethan,
because they were being discriminated against. That is a historical fact. Six-Day War aftermath.
Listen to a clip of me talking about this.
What?
Oh my God! You have no idea what my perspective on this is. You're just fucking yelling at nothing.
Well, what are you doing right now? What are you wasting time for, buddy?
This is the reason why you're repeating.
No, I have heard you talk about it time and time again. I don't
actually believe,
bro. You are continually not acknowledging the trauma of Middle Eastern Jews. You characterize it like they left. Yes, I've seen it.
To anything that's not 30 seconds long?
Yes, bro.
From me?
That's so ironic that you're saying that as you misquote Avi Schleim, who said he fled because he was afraid and not because of Zion. Here's the clip.
Here's the clip. He's trying to get a gotcha here, so you can fucking farm a clip. But everyone's still gonna think you're a fucking loser, dude. I'm sorry. Just shut up and listen if you want to actually hear my perspective.
I'm shutting up and listening to you.
Okay, thank you.
For the Iraqi Jews. Because when anti-Semitism increases in the West, Israel sees that as a complementary tool to its Zionist project, Zionist ambition of bringing either all Jews to Israel or at least make Jews in the Western world that are outside of Israel, Jews in diaspora, support Israel, because it gives additional credence to the argument. It gives additional credence to the argument that no Jew is ever safe if there is no Jewish state. That is the underpinning of the Zionist project in general.
Why did you not mention the anti-Semitism? You exclusively talk about Zionism being the reason for forcing them out. Why do you deny that they were expelled by force, the vast majority of them?
Ethan, if you think that that is the entirety of my perspective on this matter,
illuminate me.
You please need to stop talking and listen to the amount of times that I've talked about this. Okay?
Oh, just explain yourself.
I'm trying, but you keep
I just watched a clip of you being pretty dismissive about the flight. And by the way, you've done it this whole time. You say that Zionism was the main
about
force.
The aspect that this is beneficial to the Zionist project across the board, because Israel wants all Jews to be constantly fucking terrified in any other country that's not Israel, so that they can actually go and either support Israel if they're not in Israel or just move to Israel. That is the entire point. That is what Jabotinsky wanted. That is what Herzl wanted. And that is precisely what Benjamin Netanyahu wants as well. So in terms of my explanation, or what I come across as dismissive, is precisely the role that Israel itself played in this process,
which was
it was a
minuscule.
mutually beneficial relationship.
Minuscule.
Anti-Semitic pogroms did
Minuscule.
take place.
What you fail to acknowledge is that the Jews were forced to become Zionists, not by choice, but by necessity, because the Arab countries turned on them after the war and forced them to go to the only state that they could go to.
Which is necessity for Israel to exist, which is what your position is, right?
No, it's not about what was allowed or not. The Arabs created 1 million Zionists because they're anti-Semitic after the war of 1948 and fucking the rise of Arab nationalism. Do you deny that?
You brought up Morocco.
Do you deny what I just said?
Wait, say it again.
Do you deny what I just said?
Say it again. I wasn't listening.
900,000 Jews, approximately 700 to 900,000, were forced to become Zionists, not by choice, but because they were forced out. The vast majority went to the fucking Arabs. The anti-Semitic Arabs.
There you go.
What? There you go. What? That's my point. Are you okay?
My case.
Okay, well, I mean,
no, you're too fucking delusional to realize what kind of racist nonsense you're fucking chirping on. That was my entire point. Thank you.
It's historic. I mean, it's historical. You don't know anything of what you're talking about. Avi Schleim, once again, because you don't want to contend, you like to use him when it's convenient. He left not because they were Zionists. They left because they were afraid.
Arabs. What was Avi Schleim, by the way?
Yeah, he was an Arab Jew. They didn't see him that way. They kicked his ass out. I'm not saying fucking Arabs. There's a reason for it. There was a rise in Arab nationalism following the 1948 war. They blamed their own Jewish populace for what Israel did. That's anti-Semitism.
Arabs,
they had nothing to do. Do you think the Iraqi Jews left their 2,000-year-old communities, left their businesses, left their houses because they wanted to go to Israel? Are you fucking mad?
Remember a while back I tweeted and you got really mad when I said that there's a double standard between Islamophobia and anti-Semitism?
There's absolutely a double standard, and you exhibit it,
and you're participating in it right now without even recognizing that you're
historical.
Doing so.
I mean, I'm just telling you literally what happened.
Racism. All Arabs are not
They
responsible.
were racist. Do people never get racist? Do people never be? I'm explaining why. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just explaining why. After the 1948 war, the rise of Arab nationalism created a lot of anti-Semitism, and that's why the vast majority of the Jews, the 900,000 of them, were forced to immigrate. That's a fact. That is a historical fact.
Ethan, I'm sorry to say this, and I don't know if your audience gets this as well, but what you just said earlier is not an accurate reflection of history. It's just pure racism.
How do you know that?
You
How
are
do you know that it's not
the
real?
blame over to the entirety
of Arabs. Absolutely was the blame of the Arabs.
Every single one of these Arab countries with
absolutely
their own version of pan-Arabic nationalism, half of them were already still controlled, by the way, by fucking European colonial powers like Vichy France.
That was literally just in
Moroccan
Tunisia.
expulsion program, and you're using that as a similarity between the planned expulsion of 750,000 Palestinians.
Yeah, I mean, the details are different, but you're denying, like, once again,
it's like
you're still not disproving me. What did I say that is hilariously racist and wrong?
Anti-German racism.
Don't make an analogy. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Anti-German racism.
I don't need an analogy. I need facts from you. Why am I wrong?
It's as though you are pointing to anti-German racism happening during the fucking German conquest.
A fact. Tell me a fact, right, that proves that I'm wrong. That the vast majority of Jews fled because of anti-Semitism in the Arab states.
It's not what you're saying.
So I didn't say anything wrong.
I didn't say anything wrong. I
didn't say anything wrong, but I'm racist.
It's the idea that all Arabs are fucking one-minded and have something to do with Palestinians in general. Yes, I never said that there wasn't any fucking anti-Jewish sentiment that also...
Were the vast majority of Jews, did they leave because of anti-Semitism or Zionism?
The vast majority of Jews, regardless of whether or not they left for anti-Semitism or Zionist purposes, is not comparable to the Nakba.
You're not answering.
It is not comparable to the Nakba.
I don't care. That's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
No,
I'm not comparing them. And then,
what
by the way,
you're
they're
talking about.
both.
You made that
They're
comparison
both
to
unique.
say, like, to make it seem as though it was a much larger crime.
No, because
that
people
Jews
like
had to
you
withstand
ignore the
in
trauma of
different
the fact that
countries.
you want to tell that people in Israel to go back to where they came from. This is where they're from. They were forced
But
to go to Israel.
They could right now. They could go tomorrow.
Really? The Iraqi Jews can go back to their home tomorrow. The Egyptian
Iraqi
Jews can go back to their homes tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That is insane.
What are
you
you
are
talking?
fucking
Yes,
out of your mind.
They absolutely
okay, how?
can.
Tell me how.
They absolutely
How did the
can.
Jews
They
go
don't
back
want
to their?
And I understand why they wouldn't want to, because America fucking
No,
invaded and
they
destroyed
want
Iraq.
to.
But yes,
why
they
would?
could.
How?
What do you mean?
How would they go back and reclaim their lost assets, their lost property?
There were literally different schemes designed at this.
And by the way, how did they become citizens?
At different points throughout. At different points throughout this 76-year-long, drawn-out apartheid structure, there were numerous instances where, yes, there was a right to return offered to Jews, and even restitution for the homes that they lost in the process. So yes, you're wrong. You simply don't know the facts. You are wrong.
You won't say what fact I'm getting wrong.
I just told you.
Did the vast majority of Jews immigrate to Israel following 1948 because of Zionism or because of anti-Semitism?
No. Don't run away from this point.
Answer the fucking question.
I don't discount anti-Semitism as
No,
a
but
direct
answer the
consequence of
question.
pan-Arabic nationalism that took place in numerous countries. I have
Answer the
issues
question.
with your comparison. Okay?
Who's comparing? You keep saying that. I'm not talking about the
You
Nakba.
brought that
I'm
up
talking about your
deliberately in
unwillingness
your
to
context
recognize
nuke.
Jewish plight.
You brought
And
that up
a really
deliberately
important.
to say more Jews were displaced than Palestinians were.
I think that's an interesting fact that you clearly don't fucking ever want to mention
would
because
you
it
bring up
really
that
messes
fact?
up your beautiful
Why
little
would you-
narrative.
So why did you bring that fact up right after you talked about the 1948 war?
Because the point is
You
that
made that
two
comparison,
people were
not me. I think
traumatized.
that comparison's
There was
disgusting.
two people that were traumatized. There was two people that were displaced unfairly. It was the Palestinians and it was the Middle Eastern Jews. They both have trauma. You failed to acknowledge one group. You shit on the other one. I, unlike you, acknowledge both groups. I acknowledge both groups. You acknowledge one. What?
That's what you're doing. And you're also attributing.
How? How am I doing that?
You're attributing anti-Semitic violence in different countries to.
At the same time, following 1948, pan-Arab nationalism. You said that yourself.
Yes.
These 5 Arab countries were defeated in 1948, and they turned super fucking anti-Semitic as a result. They became ultra-nationalist Arabs. It became popular. As Israel declared independence, they said, "Fuck no, we don't want this country here." And yeah, they all became anti-Semitic. That's a historical fact
also
that you
failed
denied.
to recognize that Iraqi Jews have been allowed to return to Iraq, and there have been numerous instances where Jews were given an opportunity to return.
How many
if they
Jews live in
wanted
Iraq?
to, but you don't
How
want
many Jews live in Iraq?
What?
How many
I think
Jewish
it's 0
people?
right now, but they can. The
How
point
many
is they
Jews
can.
live in the Middle East outside of Israel?
Why would it? Why do you think Iraqi
Virtually
Jews
none.
Why
Where'd
would
they
Iraqi
go?
Jews not
If it
wanna
was so
go?
fucking
Why would
great
Iraqi
for
Jews
them?
not want to go to Iraq? You think right now?
0 Jews, virtually 0 Jews live outside of Israel in the Middle East. Why is that? You don't think that none of them wanted to fucking stay at home?
I don't know. Maybe
None
because
of them.
maybe because there was a religious ethno-supremacist state that was backed by a lot of Western states as
That's
a
the
direct
insane
destabilizer in the fucking
sweeping
region
that you're
with mass
discrediting.
migration happening, especially, of course, mass migration happening, and then in the aftermath of the Holocaust with a shit ton more refugees coming in was a much more viable state for them.
Here's the problem.
Viability of said state, of course, is partially a consequence of the other countries and the hostility that people felt towards Jewish people.
You don't want to blame the Arabs.
This in and of itself is the heart of the problem, because people conflate Zionism with Judaism, and you do that.
That's
all
what
the
the
time.
Arabs did when they kicked them all out.
I know, and I don't think it's appropriate. That's
And
my
so why
point.
are you blaming the Zionists and not the fucking Arabs for being racist? Why do you deny the Jewish trauma?
Arabs.
Why do you deny the 900,000 traumatized Jews that were forced, including, by the way, what you keep ignoring, Avi Schleim.
Quick question.
Avi Schleim said we didn't leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were afraid. Are you hearing that?
Ethan, do you blame the English for the Holocaust?
No.
Who did the Holocaust, Ethan?
Just fucking make your point. I'm not playing this
Come on,
silly
who
game.
did the Holocaust? Just say it.
Make your point, dude. I'm not a fucking...
Why not? I'm asking you a question. It's a super simple question.
Avi Schleim
What?
said we left Iraq
I asked
because...
you who was responsible for the Holocaust?
Why would
Which
I answer
nation?
such a stupid rhetorical question? Just make your point.
Wait, you know the answer to this, right? Like, come on, what are you looking at on your fucking computer? Like, which country is responsible for the Holocaust?
Anytime you want to make your point.
What?
I would appreciate
Wait, what is
if
happening? Dude, when you already, okay, here, whatever. You said already.
I would appreciate
that
if you would just listen to one thing I would
that
say.
It wasn't the English, right? It's not the responsibility of the British that the Holocaust happened, right? You understand that. You recognize that, right?
Well, I would say the nation most directly guilty for the Holocaust was probably Nazi Germany.
Okay. Did you just read that from your laptop?
No,
Okay,
I'm
whatever.
eloquent, unlike your dumbass.
I mean, yes, it is. Okay. Notice how you don't actually
I'm fabulous,
put every
bitch.
single fucking country. There was plenty of anti-Semitism in England too. Notice how you don't fucking say all Europe. All of Europe is responsible for the Holocaust.
Was there concentration
but
camps
you say
in the UK?
all Arabs.
Okay.
The point is,
Okay. There's no Jews in the Middle East. None. Can you listen to one thing? I have one thing important to say that I really want you just to listen to, okay? Avi Schleim said they did not leave Iraq because they were Zionists. They left because they were afraid.
Yes.
You are denying his family's trauma.
Oh
You
my
are
God.
blaming his family's trauma
Will you talk
on
to him?
Zionists.
Will you talk to
and
him
not,
about this?
Sure. I
Would
mean,
you-
he's
if
going
you're
to
so
agree with me. I
confident-
read it
if
from
you're
his
so confident
fucking
in
book.
everything, if you're so confident in all of this, okay, that would be great. All right, perfect. Okay.
So I listen.
No, you should. You should talk to him.
I'll
and
debate
Norm
all these
Finkelstein.
people instead of you. I have time. Unfortunately, like I said, it's getting late, so I just want to make one last point before we go, which is that always remember, Hasan, that when people criticize me, I watch it on my stream by myself live, unlike a bitch-made coward like yourself, who needs someone to hold your hand, make all the excuses in the world to avoid any single criticism, any response. You, my friend, are a coward, and I am the fucking legend that responded to it live with zero hesitation. But you know why? Because I'm not a liar. I don't have to think about the shit that I say and justify it. You lied. That's why you can't do it, because you'll get caught in those lies.
5-hour endeavor made you look good. Then congratulations. Okay.
You don't think it was good that you don't think that it was a supreme confidence that I responded to it immediately live?
Ethan, it took you 4 months to actually entertain the notion of having a conversation
said
with me.
anytime
I don't give a fuck
you
about
want,
watching
dipshit.
YouTube videos. I don't know why you think that I'm afraid of
You
watching
watch
your
11
fucking
hate
YouTube
videos
video.
on your channel. 11 hate videos. I've watched 0 about you, Hasan. Do you want to actually discuss who's the coward?
Videos, dumbass! Your fucking community is the hate community.
you
Why the fuck would you have to watch hate videos or whatever? You are the one who was
Hasan,
doing
just
it.
remember, when criticism comes, I confront
Well, thank
it.
you for backtracking
When
on at least
criticism
7 of
comes
the
to
points.
you,
Maybe we should
you
go
hide
through the
from it.
context puke one more time so we can continue.
If you
want to
watch
this
it,
conversation later, okay?
If you want, listen,
I'll hold
if
your
you want
hand
to
through all
watch
the
it,
other dumb shit that you said in it. It's not because I'm afraid. It's because you were crying because you.
no, it is
because I
definitely
wouldn't
because you're
watch it.
afraid. Why is it you didn't pull? Why is it you love Ban Empanada, but when he makes a video criticizing you, you say I'm not watching that?
Because I think it's. You want to know why? Because I think it's fucking unproductive to literally
watch criticism of me, you fucking coward.
Yeah, because
what are you
you're
saying?
fucking presenting yourself and developing an audience that is literally, without even realizing it, because they are only drama obsessed. Without realizing it, they're literally positioning themselves to be pro-Israel, to repeat pro-Israel talking points. Yes, that is the only reason why I started talking
Which
about
you will not point
because you
out.
went on a fucking deplatforming campaign of
Why
all
did you not watch
pro-Palestinian
Bad
voices
Empanada's
that
video
dared
about you? You watched
criticize
all of it?
You did 110
why?
Instagram stories on me, Ethan, since January
you're
31st, 2025.
You're changing the
It was so
24
unhinged
hours.
that you
Bro,
didn't even
it's-
recognize who you have
You need
become.
to at least admit that it's reciprocal. I am not upset. You made 24 hours of nonstop content,
Ethan,
bro.
You
24
literally
hours
have
in the last 2
just
months.
on your own personal Instagram
We've talked about each
stories
other equally
since
as much, bro.
January 31st,
This whole
2025, 110 stories. It was so insane, you didn't believe it. You don't
even
even
if
believe
that's-
your own mania.
Hasan,
Please,
Hasan,
for the
20
love of God.
Hasan, you talked about me 24 minutes a day, every day, 7 days a week for 60 days.
Yes,
Does that sound fucking reasonable?
You presented yourself as a fucking significant force trying to literally deplatform pro-Palestinian voices.
How much time do you think it makes an Instagram story?
That's why. And that's you literally, your own.
Why didn't you watch a bad empanada video about yourself?
Your own producers were begging you to stop talking about me, so much so that you had to set up a separate war room where you only talked about me.
What?
And that's what happened, right? Because you couldn't shut up about it. Your fans were fucking going, Ethan, we get it. He sucks.
My fans are fine, bro. Don't worry about my fans.
The entire time you frame this as though it's petty fucking drama.
It's not petty drama. You are deeply anti-Semitic, hateful, fucking propagandist liar.
And it only took you now to fucking openly say 10 toes down that it is a genocide, but also you don't want anyone to fucking resist against it.
I've said that consistently for years, liar.
Ethan, you don't want anyone to resist against genocide. It is a fucking untenable position.
Oh, you mean kidnapping civilians? You're so pathetic, bro.
And you constantly keep smearing me as a fucking anti-Semite at a time when the Trump administration, is blackbagging people.
Yeah, that's bad happening. Don't call me out.
How do you not understand?
That's bad happening. Don't call me out. That's what you're doing.
Dude, how do you not understand?
Why didn't you watch the bad empanada video?
You are playing a formative role when you don't talk about Mahmoud Khalil. You're playing a formative role when you don't talk about the mass starvation of Gazans.
By the way, I advocated for Kamala to get elected. What'd you do? I told people to vote for Kamala. What'd you do?
Oh.
No, seriously.
Oh, Ethan, congratulations.
Did you? Do you think Kamala and Trump would have been equally bad?
I won't change anything from Joe Biden's policies, Harris.
It's not Joe Biden, it's Kamala Harris.
Not only did I go to the DNC, but I actually offered some pretty fucking valuable criticism to the Democratic Party that they didn't listen to, unfortunately.
Didn't they kick you out of the DNC?
Listen to that valuable criticism, they lost. Why have you lied about me voting for Jill Stein, by the way? Can we talk about that?
Who did you? I don't know.
Who saying I voted for Jill Stein? I have
Who did you vote for?
Countless hours shitting on Jill Stein. I've told people
I
not to vote for Trump. I've said that Donald Trump is significantly worse than Kamala Harris. And I've also, on top of that, called Jill Stein a grifter over and over again. But for some weird reason, despite the fact that I voted live, mind you, you kept lying to your audience. And you kept lying to your audience, and you kept making it seem as though I didn't even fucking vote, or I urged people not to vote. There's never been a moment where I said do not vote.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem?
No, I got no problem, but I think there's people in your audience that would.
You don't have a problem with that.
Why didn't you endorse her then?
You keep saying I voted for Jill Stein, huh?
I said I think because you didn't say who you voted for.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh,
it's an opinion.
Oh, you don't give a fuck, dude. It doesn't matter who I vote for anyway. You're out of your fucking mind. I did not endorse Kamala Harris, and I will never endorse Kamala Harris.
But you
and
voted
I did not endorse Joe Biden.
And now Trump's president.
Know why? Because you want to know why?
Trump's building the Riviera in Gaza Strip, and guess what? You're fucking love that shit because you get to keep making content about it, and you get to keep making videos, and you guarantee there will never be peace there.
Yeah. As opposed to you,
of both sides.
As opposed to you, Ethan, how much content have you made about Donald Trump? How much content have you made about fucking Donald Trump? You literally defended his terrorist regime. What the fuck are you talking about? And then you have to apologize because you're an embarrassing figure. Okay? Listen to me. It is embarrassing that you have tried to make a foray into politics, and all of the producers or all the people that are giving you fucking talking points is not going to make you come across as smart in this process. Please, for your own mental sanity, stop trying to do this. You are basically brain breaking a shit ton of people into idiotic positions. You clearly don't care about people who have actually voted for Donald Trump, considering your allegiance with people who have literally directly voted for Donald Trump.
Who's my allegiance? Who's my allegiance?
What do you mean? You have fucking Trump supporters that you're friends with, like Steiny in general. When I have a conversation with him, I'm actually directly fucking addressing some of the shit that he's saying, like the Nelk boys and whatnot.
Our entire conversation was me arguing with him and telling him why Trump's bad and why transphobia is bad.
You're going out, you're playing poker with people who fucking voted for Donald Trump. You're defending Asmongold and saying Asmongold is not actually Trump coded. Okay? You're doing all this because they don't. Asmongold has been a valuable figure shitting on me this entire time. And that's the only reason why you act like he's not that significant of a force. That's it.
When did I say
you
that?
will take help from anyone and everyone, no matter what their background is.
Destiny,
you claim to care. You claim to care about rape, and you're hyping up a dude who has a segment on a show called Ultimate Rape Review. The reason why you're hyping up that dude is because you don't give a fuck. All you care about is petty drama. This is your only content. Stop doing petty drama content. Shut the fuck up about politics and get back to goofs and gaffs. And it will be fine. People will forget that you have behaved in this way. But you don't want to do that. It's become a fucking personal agenda for you that people don't like you. It must be anti-Semitism. No, they don't like you because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And you have to be babied by goddamn producers as a 40-year-old adult. That's the reason why people don't like it. That's it.
Very good. Very good. Now, why don't you watch Bad Empanadas videos about you?
Because he's pro-Palestine, and I don't give a fuck about. Because he was
criticizing you.
And I don't.
Oh, you're
care
such
about
a
the
coward,
difference in
Hassan.
methods
It's
that we
unbelievable.
have.
All right, very
Because
good.
there's
I'm
no
out of my
reason to
depth. I
divide
shouldn't
the
talk about.
movement. And if you were pro-Palestine, I would never
Despite
talk
you-
about you either. That's the real reason.
Uh-oh. Can you please contend with the Avi Schleim quote that they left not because of Zionism, but because of they were afraid?
Dude, come on. Enough. You have Avi Schleim on the show. Talk to him about it, okay? Maybe
Okay,
it'll
sure,
go
yeah.
down exactly like you thought with Sam Cedar.
How did it go with Sam Cedar? I think if anything, Sam kind of embarrassed himself. I genuinely do. I hate to say it because I like Sam.
40-year-old man
but
who
like
needs a fucking button when he has like a little oops
Did I button?
moment is
Did I
actually
button?
the one who's talking about Sam Cedar embarrassing himself.
Did I button during that
He
debate?
lowered himself to talk to you man to man and try to
That's
explain
what
what
you
was going on.
wanted. That's what you asked for. Why
wanted
would
that
you want to
conversation to
lower
be
his
private,
status?
I wanted that conversation.
Why
to be
did you
private
lower
because
his
I thought you'd
status?
be convinced. I didn't realize you were this fucking drama obsessed. You thought
Drama
Sam
obsessed.
Cedar was
We had
gonna
an
give you
argument
clips
about
that you could
fucking
use
South
against
Africa
me.
apartheid. What's drama about that?
What?
You're fucking dude.
I can't
Listen,
hear what you
enjoy.
said. What did you say?
It doesn't matter. Just remember, when it comes to criticism, I watch it. You ignore it. It's so important.
It's actually peaceful because you're gonna clip chimp the fucking shit that Loner Box told you, and then you're
Why
gonna
was
say
it what?
the violent things that the
Hasan.
violent things that the ANC did were in the Truth and Reconciliation Committee attributed to. And
Hassan, how many civilians died in the 20 years in the ANC during the ANC's?
It was like 200, I think, or
Less than
1,000.
100. How many people did Hamas kill on one day? Nelson Mandela, which I'll read you a quote from his trial. I'll read you a quote.
Are you comparing the apartheid structure in South Africa to 76 years of colonial occupation?
Don't you do that all the time?
No, the number
You call it
far
apartheid
larger,
all the time.
and the militancy has gotten far more radical as a direct consequence of Israel becoming far more radical. Because as I told you, and you seemingly understood when we first had this conversation after October 7, that the maintenance of an apartheid is an inherently violent endeavor. And as a matter of fact, the resistance to said apartheid is only going to get worse and worse as time moves on. This is precisely the reason why the first intifada was fought with stones, little children throwing rocks, and the second intifada in the aftermath of horrific acts of terror against Palestinians who were at a mosque praying. The second intifada, as a matter of fact, was fought with bombs.
Historical quote. I'm not just grandstanding. Mandela, from his trial in 1960, said, and I quote, "There were 4 forms of violence that were possible. One was sabotage, one was guerrilla warfare, one was terrorism, and then there was open revolution. We chose to adopt the first method as it exhausted it before taking any other decision. In light of our political background, the choice was a logical one. Sabotage did not involve loss of life, and it offered the best hope for future race relations. Bitterness would be kept minimum, and if a policy bore fruit, democratic government could become a reality. This is what we felt at the time, and this is what we said in our manifesto.
Keep going.
We have always sought to achieve liberation without bloodshed and civil clash. We hope, even at this late hour, that our first actions will awaken everyone to the realization that the disastrous situation which the nationalist policy is leading. We hope that we will bring the government and its supporters to their senses before it's too late, so that both the government and its policies can be changed before matters reach the desperate state of war."
Notice how the end part of that is getting ready for rebellion. I feel like given the
Did they?
Yeah, because the
No, they
apartheid
didn't.
structure dissolved as a direct consequence of pressure campaigns and also militancy, which Nelson Mandela not once but twice was presented
what's
with
Hamas
the
doing
option
for
of having a
liberation?
sentence commuted, which he refused to do. They said, Nelson Mandela, if you disavow violence...
On principle. He said, I will not remain in jail because a prisoner can't negotiate. A prisoner can't decide.
That was the first time.
He said
and in both
no
circumstances,
both times. He
in
refused
both
on principle.
In
Less
both
than 100
circumstances,
people died during the 20-year period. They never, anyone that attacked civilians, they were disavowed. The ANC repeatedly apologized and disavowed violence against civilians.
When did they do that?
Less than 100 civilians died.
When did they do that?
Hamas killed 1,000 civilians on one fucking day.
No, 1,000 civilians. The poor civilian Israeli soldiers that died in their military bases. The civilians.
There was like, bro, you're so dumb.
What do you mean I'm so dumb? These numbers matter.
Okay, how many civilians died? How many civilians died?
I believe the total number of casualties in October 7 was 1,200, with 800 being civilians, which is completely unacceptable, mind you, and 400 being military members.
I was off by 100. Oh my God, dude! I can't believe the historical inaccuracies.
You just made a big. You're the one who's bringing up numbers here, Ethan. And yes, I do think it's important to recognize something here that you are seemingly failing to recognize. Nelson Mandela was thrown in prison because he went and trained with the FLN in Algeria. The reason why he stayed in fucking prison was because he refused to disavow violence, because he understood that as long as peaceful revolution is impossible, that violent revolution is inevitable. And violent revolution they did do.
You know what's funny?
In terms of the death and destruction on the apartheid structure, by the way, it is incomprehensible to compare that to Israel's violence against the Palestinians. What Israel has done to the Palestinians is far worse. And by the way, that's not my assessment. What Israel has done to the Palestinians for the past 76 years is infinitely worse. And that is not my assessment, by the way. That is the assessment of Mandela. And for all the, for all of the moments that he was able to fucking see.
You think Mandela said what's happening is worse than what we went through? That's bullshit. Why would he say that?
Why would he say that? Because it's true, Ethan. That's why.
Is Nelson Mandela a Zionist?
Yes, Nelson Mandela. Are you going to say in 1999 he said Israel has a legal right to exist? In that same speech that you're going to fucking clip him.
Remember that you called this guy a neo-Nazi, not fit to be a dog catcher.
Who?
That's what you said about
Nelson
Mandela.
What are you talking about? Yeah, whoa. You're jumping off like a million different points. What?
The right of Israel to exist as a state legally. We have stood quite openly and firmly for the right of that state to exist within secured borders.
You disagree with that statement?
Does Israel has a right to exist? Not in the way that it currently does.
Within secure borders.
Hold on.
Coward.
Do you know what he says after that clip?
Yeah, that he also thinks that Palestinians also need to be acknowledged, which, by the way, is my fucking point.
No, not that.
Palestinian liberation and Israeli borders are two sides of the same coin.
He didn't just say Palestinians also need to be acknowledged.
What did he say?
He says that if peaceful means of coexistence is impossible, then violence is inevitable, Ethan. Why did you clip that out of the fucking clip chimp that you posted, Ethan?
You saying I clip chimp Nelson Mandela?
Yes, you literally did. You cut him out of context because it doesn't suit your fucking purpose.
What do you mean? He's talking philosophically. He's talking philosophically.
We're having a conversation about Nelson Mandela and whether or not he actually believes in violence. Whether or not he actually believes in violence. You have said time and time again that he was a peaceful dove. He's never actually done any violence whatsoever.
No, I literally didn't.
There are numerous instances on
inevitability. A philosophical warning is not an endorsement. He was speaking as a warning to them, which was apt.
Brother, that is insane. Nelson Mandela was literally on a terror watch list since 2008.
Who gives a fuck?
What do you mean who gives a fuck? You like to use the terrorism watch list when you're talking about the Houthis, or you like to use the terrorist watch list when you talk about Hezbollah and Hamas.
I mean, I gave you specific examples of why those organizations are bad.
Who do you think that was
I don't.
Who do you think the philosophical point that he was making? The guy who was in prison for violent resistance, by the way, who trained militancy,
violent resistance? You mean sabotage?
For rebellion,
sabotage.
By the way. Who
Sabotage
do you
and
think
giving
that was a
government
warning
infrastructure.
to? Do you think that was a warning to Palestinians, or do you think that was a warning to Israel?
Fact that
because
you are
that
so
same Nelson
willing.
Mandela has time and time again also repeated that no one is free until Palestine is free. That same Nelson Mandela that you're trying to fucking use in this situation has said that this is a united struggle, that Israel's actions against the Palestinians are abhorrent, that it is akin to what they have experienced in apartheid South Africa, if not worse. So the idea that you can make this comparison because you think
I want Palestine to be free, my friend.
is so stupid. And the only way you can do that is by cutting it out of context.
No, I just explained why. Dude, I want Palestine to be free. But you know what? I don't think Hamas is furthering that goal. I think Hamas is counterproductive. They're making it worse. They're causing it to be inevitable. You refuse to criticize them, which is pathetic.
Why are they
Unlike
making
me,
it worse, Ethan?
I'm willing
Why
to
are they making it
criticize the
worse?
Israeli
Why are they
government.
making
I'm
it
willing to
worse?
come to terms with the cruel reality.
No.
Hamas.
Why are they making it worse?
Well, what was the fucking objective there on October 7th, genius?
Kidnapping, which by the way I don't even agree with, which is an international human rights violation. But kidnapping Israeli soldiers, Israeli civilians to draw.
And
out
what part about that was slaughtering fucking families in their homes?
Ethan, I don't agree.
Their goal was
with
to kill
tactics.
civilians.
You know this already. We're not relitigating this over and over again after.
I'm just saying, Hamas is a bunch of
fucking genocide.
Right.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think?
One day you're gonna watch a video response I make.
Probably not. When you apologize for all the fucking harm that you've done.
Apologize? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Listen.
I have the rest of the clip that you clipped, Chip, by the way, if you want to hear his actual fucking full-fleshed opinions.
I can. I'm not hiding from it. I literally acknowledge what he said. I don't care.
But so why did you say that he was actually? Why did you say that he was
point
actually
I was making
a peaceful resistance type of guy?
When did I say that? When the fuck did I say that, you liar?
You said it on numerous occasions, as opposed to
Lie.
you said that on numerous occasions before
I
someone
said
told
he
you.
used
No, actually,
violent.
here's a better way to massage that.
You
narrative.
are a liar. I said he uses violent means such as sabotage. He didn't kill
Ethan,
civilians. That's what I said.
Will you stop talking if I show you numerous instances where you have said Nelson Mandela was peaceful?
I'm not gonna. You get those together, okay?
I mean, there's.
You're
You
gonna
said he
do
was a
great.
pacifist.
You're gonna do great.
Ethan,
Yeah,
you
go ahead and
literally
grab
said he was a
those.
pacifist to Sam
I
Cedar.
never said Nelson Mandela was a pacifist.
Ethan, you said it
That
to
is an insane lie.
You said it to Sam Cedar 2 days ago.
So you got to watch that back because you're once again a liar. You have no problem lying. You have no problem saying that I work with the ADL without any evidence.
Ethan,
you fucking have no
you've
problem
said on
discrediting
numerous
the
occasions
suffering
that
of
Nelson
Jewish
Mandela
refugees.
is a pacifist.
Okay, well, prove
And
it.
the full quote, by the way, of Nelson Mandela is from when he visited Gaza in 1999.
When did I call him a
that I was referring to.
pacifist?
Choose
That's
peace rather
insane.
than confrontation, except in cases where we cannot move forward. Then, if the only alternative is violence, we will use violence.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a pacifist to you?
I meant that he didn't kill civilians.
Do you think Nelson
His
Mandela
approach
would fuck
is
with the
vastly
Houthis?
different than what Hamas
Do you
is
think
doing.
Nelson Mandela would like what the Houthis are doing?
I don't know. Let's fucking dig him out of his grave and ask him.
That's kind of weird because, I mean, you said he was doing peaceful means of resistance.
Do I
like
think Nelson
sabotage.
Mandela would be in favor of kidnapping 10 civilians? No,
Yes,
of course
he
not.
would. 100% he would.
All right. Well, while you're busy putting words in a dead
100%
man's
he
mouth,
would. What are you talking about? Nelson Mandela bombed the fucking church or shit. What are you talking about? not Nelson Mandela directly.
he
in prison,
didn't fuck with civilians, bro. That was his thing. He wanted to be as peaceful as possible because he knew that if he killed and targeted civilians, it would make reunification
you're right.
impossible.
Israel's doing
That's
a
a
genocide because
historical
Palestinians are not
fact.
resisting in the
Less than
appropriate
100
ways.
civilians died in 20-year period. I mean, what do you want more than that? Hamas killed 1,000 or 900. So sorry.
800. But also,
I am so 800. You're right. You know what? That's better.
It's seemingly important. You're the one who's
That's
bringing up
better.
numbers. Now, what you again fail to recognize is, of course, the length, and not only that, but also the resistance against apartheid South Africa included military resistance on top of that. But that's not even my point here. Okay.
Huh?
My point is that the apartheid in South Africa and the resistance against it was a far shorter period with far less casualties on the South African side as opposed to Israel's complete ethnic cleansing campaign that is has started now, but even before its ethnic cleansing campaign.
Well, then don't compare Hamas to Nelson Mandela.
Because the situation is far worse, Ethan. Because Israel has killed every Nelson Mandela. Israel would have probably killed Nelson Mandela if they had the opportunity to do so.
I'm sure, and they would have done everything bad that's ever happened in the world.
Wait, do you know why I said that? No, don't look at your laptop. Do you know why I said that?
I'm not. Let me guess. You, I don't. Oh, tell me.
No, go ahead. Just throw up a guess.
All right, listen. It's 5 o'clock. I'm not doing this.
Oh, you don't want to do this?
You can tell me, or you cannot. You want to? I'll stand here if you want to tell me, but I'm not going to sit here and play rhetorical
Israel was
games.
aligned with South Africa, the apartheid government, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I know. They made nuclear bombs with them. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
What's that have to do with anything, fuckhead? When did I defend
they're
that?
both apartheids, so.
Yeah, when did I deny that? All right, listen, it's 5 o'clock. Like I said, I have a family to go to. I have 3 kids and a wife, and I know that you have a fucking cool-ass race car bed to sleep in, and I hope you enjoy that.
Okay, man. Thank you. Have a good one. I hope this was productive. Dan, he needs you more than you need him. Stop babying this man, please. He needs you more than you need him. Stop babying him.
Well, I know that's true, but I don't baby him.
Come on. Okay. All right.
You want to target the crew more?
I'm not
you
targeting
want to drum up
He's not targeting anything. It's fine.
I have
It's
a tremendous amount of respect for the crew. They are what makes
Bad
this show
Empanada
great.
called AB a house slave.
What?
Bad Empanada called AB a house
he's
slave.
wrong. What the fuck do you want? I've never said
well,
that.
you
Why
watch
are
his
bringing
videos
up
a lot.
Bad Empanada? Do you think I agree with everything he says? No, of course not.
You endorse him.
Ethan, I've endorsed
all right, we gotta go.
YouTube
You promote him all the
essays
time.
that
That's a
I
fact.
agree with that I think are very well thought out. I don't endorse
All right, listen,
his
stop being a
techniques or
coward and
methods
watch some fair
overall.
criticism. Please stop being a coward and just watch some criticism. It will
Yeah.
prove
No, well,
that you
this
are
was
not
pretty
afraid.
good. This was pretty productive, having this conversation, having this back and forth, don't you think?
I actually do. I think you exposed yourself deeply a few times here, and I think we'll have to wait and see, obviously, how this pans out. But I do think it was productive to show just kind of the blatant, overt, anti-Semitism that you.
Maybe I will watch the context puke.
Yes, please, and then we can talk about it if you want.
Live, as a matter of fact.
Yes, please do.
Way. I like that this is what it's come to, where having a face-to-face conversation is less. Is somehow
it's not
less fucking is more cowardly than like actually watching a YouTube video that you made. No, dude.
It is because,
what's cowardly is you fucking constantly crying and refusing to actually look for context and putting together putting together shit that you saw on fucking subreddits to be like, this is my argument. I'm
just watch it and tear it up and show how out of context it was. I love that.
Maybe I'll actually do that to fundraise for the charities that you are actively targeting by trying to undermine and celebrate with Creator Clash 3, which is, I hope.
I don't know if you know this, but the last year they lost $250,000. To be charitable, you actually have to give money to charity, Hasan.
Everybody that has even lightly fucking criticized you or stayed out of.
Are you surprised that I didn't like Ian's video?
What? No, dude.
Dude, if you want to own me, listen, Hasan. If you want to own me by donating to charity, I think that's fantastic.
That a fucking charity event is actually like you're trying to undermine a charity event deliberately.
You have to give money to be charity. It's like a slush fund for them.
God, that's so gross, man. Okay.
I mean, what happened last year? How much money did they make? Did they do charity last year?
I don't know.
They lost $250,000.
Will you debate me again, Ethan, if you keep chirping in the future?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
but I think it would be good if you watch the content puke.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do
puke,
that.
And then we can discuss it.
Maybe I'll do that to fundraise for Creator Clash.
Yes, I think it's awesome. If you want to own me by donating to charity, I think that's sick as fuck.
Yeah, maybe you should do that too. Donate some pro-Palestinian charities. I'll feel so fucking owned.
Let's own each other and donate to charity.
All right.
I know you guys. I know you guys hate each other, but the views were crazy.
It was? How many? I never looked.
Think about it.
What was the views at? I never looked.
They're pretty good on both ends, like 100K.
Whose was higher?
Don't ask that question.
Hasan's was higher?
Hasan's was higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not by much, but it was higher.
That's not good. We got.
I mean, I had 120,000. I don't know what you guys had over there. I wasn't looking, but
We got up to about 100K. So
Well, we're gonna have to do some. These people are clearly have some kind of brain disease, and we need to do something about it.
no, for sure. Ethan, please keep up the energy as though you feel that there is a genocide going on, because your output is what matters here. And that is what I was trying to get across to you and get across to your audience. If you think that this...
I acknowledge that I acknowledge that I could talk about it more, and I should make more of an effort to talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Instead of going after
And you should try not to be a fucking raging anti-Semite for a day.
What?
If you can try not to be a raging anti-Semite for a day, then we can shake hands.
I don't think you actually believe that I'm anti-Semitic. I think you're hysterical.
You should watch back the first part of this interview.
What?
You should watch back the first part of this interview.
I don't think that makes you look good.
Okay, well, I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Unfortunately, I think your people are going to think it makes you look good, and then everybody else is going to think that might look good. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yes,
at the end of the day,
I'm sure that...
It's not a swastika. It's just a swastika sword. It's not a swastika. It's just the sword that I called the swastika sword. Got it. All right, have a good night, Hasan.
All right, you too.
I got to go.
You too, buddy.
You take care, bud.
All right.
Old friend.
God damn, what a fucking exercise in futility. I did lose my shit a little bit towards the end. But hey, at least we got Ethan to openly admit that he thinks his wife is a terrorist. I don't know how that's going to work. This was the biggest pickup and shake of all time. Go P, bro.